When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorium, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
Oh my goodness gracious, do I love that freaking music. What is up, everybody? Welcome, Arvanauts, to a Friday stream. It is 10 minutes to 9 p.m. Eastern on October 11th, 2019, in the year of our Lord, Anno Domini, etc., etc., and it is my great pleasure to welcome everybody to Esper Genesis. It is day 33 of Esper Genesis, an episode which we are calling today Viral Fallout. I wonder why. But we'll talk more about that in just a minute. I'm very excited for the stream today. A lot of good news that's been coming along for a variety of people, actually, that I know, which is great. I always love it when things are going well for them. Things seem to be moving in good directions for me also. Some stuff I can't talk about yet, but I can't wait to talk about it. It's going to be awesome. And other things. So I cannot wait. But before we get into that, 33. Yeah, 3-3. Day 33 of Esper Genesis. It's crazy, isn't it? It's unbelievable. But I want to welcome everybody to the stream, and thank you for stopping by, and let you know about ways to support the stream before we talk about what's going on tonight. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. That is one of the best things you can do. Please check out the YouTube, where you have past broadcasts of this and other streams. !ArvTube for that. !ArvCord will get you over to my Discord channel, where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. !ArvTweets will get you over to my Twitter, and !Tweet will allow you to retweet this stream, and please do that. Retweet the stream. Let us continue to broaden things out. Because of the way that Twitch now actually looks at some of these things, with active web pages being the things that give us viewers, we're going to need to be able to make sure that we have people coming in actively so that it's picking up on these viewer numbers, because you're all wonderful people and deserve to be recognized. So please tweet out the stream, and you can find out about all of this on my website, arvaneleron.com. Also, you should be checking out my podcast that I co-host with my Mike Underwood, also known as Turbo Tango here, called Speculate at speculatesf.com, our actual play show. I talked with Mike today, and we're going to be doing some things with that are going to be very exciting as well. But again, more about that to come. On the financial side, !Arv Shop, as Coven Guy was nice enough to post right there. That is my merchandise area. We have got right now Infinity and Beyond merchandise. We also have Adventures in Middle-earth stuff with Terry's illustrations, which are really awesome, by the way, that merchandise. And last but certainly not least, we will be soon adding Esper Genesis merchandise as well to the store. So definitely jump on board because that supports us and the channel, which is going to be great. Arv Treon is the Patreon, currently sitting over 300 again. We're continuing to try to build that. 302 right now and continuing to build upwards if we possibly can. Good things for you and good things for the channel. And last but certainly not least, that sub button above the video window, which thanks to the generosity of people like Coven Guy has been blown up. We are currently sitting at about 73 subs, I believe, which is awesome. And again, that really does make a difference. So please jump on board either the Patreon or sub to the channel if you can. And you too can get some of those cool things as the channel gets broadened out. And I do want to highlight here, because Shadow Mage is in the stream right now, this awesome idea that Twitch had, and this is really a good idea, the Founders Badge, which is basically for an affiliate, the first 10 people to subscribe to the channel, even if their subscription is lapsed, when they subscribe again, they will get that badge. So Shadow Mage has this Founders Badge. Hillness has one as well. I think Kilobyte also, probably, I don't know about Kilgore Trout, but there's a number of people who, definitely Dragon Spear, would have those badges, and I think that's really cool. Like, I think it's a great idea by Twitch. It encourages people to sub. It allows them to sort of see the legacy of the channel. So thank you to Shadowed for being a founder. I think it's an awesome idea, and yeah, all that good stuff. It does cover over, unfortunately, the awesome sub badge thing, but honestly, I think it's such a neat thing, and it's only 10 people that get that it's still cool. So anyway, a lot of awesome stuff coming that way, so that's cool. Schedule-wise, we have got day 33 of Esper Genesis going on tonight. Tomorrow, we have got more D&D with Infinity and Beyond Curse of Strahd, and man, everyone I've been talking to is pumped up about the session tomorrow. All the players have been like, I can't wait. They were all 2 days ago in the channel, in the Discord channel, they're all like, oh my god, I can't wait for this. It's going to be awesome. I feel I'm excited about it. I've heard viewers talking about how excited they are, so it's going to be great. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be coming up. And then next week on Tuesday, we have Adventures in Middle-earth will be making its triumphant return, starting earlier, 10:30 in the morning, remember, this Tuesday, Eastern, so as to accommodate one of our players. And then I'll be playing D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder at the normal time, 4 p.m. over on Pen and Pixels over on that channel. Then Friday of next week, we will not have an official stream, because Friday of next week, I will be making my way driving up to Canada for CanCon, which is a convention that I go to every October in Canada with a lot of awesome people like Brahms and Marie Bilodeau, who of course is on this channel, and many others. So I'm very excited for that. I will be doing a couple of panels on podcasting, on game and narrative design, and then I will be doing a one-shot, probably of Forbidden Library, on Saturday evening. So I'm hoping to be able to stream that live from the convention, but no official stream on Friday. Maybe if I get lucky and I get up there early and whatever, maybe I'll try it, but nothing official on Friday night. Saturday, however, is definitely going to be happening. So if anyone is in the Ottawa area, I should say, not the Canadian area. Canada is a huge country. But if anyone is in the Ottawa area and is free to stop by, please do so. Would love to say hi to any or all of you on Saturday, a week from tomorrow. So that's what we've got going on. Very excited about all of that. And the last thing that I wanted to mention just briefly is about Icarus, because I saw Garlic Tofu was in here. I have gotten the latest pencils, the next 40 pages of pencils or so for book 1. So this is beyond thumbnails. This is now pencils. And then after that, we get the inks, which I approve, and then on to layout. And the pencils look awesome from Achala, who is the artist. Just as good as Jelinek. Again, just so excited. I think everyone who supported that is going to be really, really happy with what they see, because I'm really happy. I'm just super pumped up about it. It's going to be great. But right now, we have got some Esper Genesis going on, and I am super excited about it. So I am going to unmute myself so the folks know that we are ready to go. I've been watching Carlos wincing, probably at his inevitable decision that he's got to make. And then I'm going to jump over there to show you the amazing, almost full, although not completely full crew. Johnny is at Big Bad Con, this week. So Video Store Cowboy is there having a good time. He actually stopped by and said hello in chat. So have a great time, Johnny, and we miss you, and we'll have you back here on the 25th, 2 weeks from today. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that everybody, or Zach, is everyone able to make the 25th?
I think so.
Did we say?
I think so.
Okay, so I think we're going to have our full crew for the 25th, which will be great. Everyone has been busy doing a lot of stuff, as we were talking about before the stream, but we're going to have the full crew back, and that's awesome because I'm telling you, like, I was very pumped up for the session tonight also. This is such a great group, and I can't wait. So you should follow all the things with Johnny at VidStore Cowboy. But moving right along the line, it is my pleasure to welcome back to the show, back to the channel for the second time this week, the one, the only Cat Rambo. Hello, Cat. Welcome back. How are you? How's life in the universe and all that? And who are you playing?
Everything's fine here. It is a chilly Seattle day, and we're revving up for Halloween. I'm playing Petra Sinus, an ashen-forged sentinel with an affinity for machines and a very large hammer.
Awesome. And yeah, I forgot that. I'm sorry that you're not going to be here on the 25th. That's all right. That's right. We will get everyone back here in November. This is what happens. You just get a lot of able, intelligent, smart, busy people, and this is what happens. But yes, we will get everyone back for November. But Kat is with us today, and again, wielding that large hammer, and we will talk quite a bit about stuff that may happen with Petra coming up in just a little bit. Someone else who has been in deadline hell. But it's all good because basically, you know, as we've talked about, like his career is blowing up. It's, you know, it's his world. We're just living in it. And I want to point out, by the way, that it's no accident that I am flanked on both sides by extraordinarily successful speculative fiction authors, because my feeling is that just all it's osmosis, right? It just all rubs off, you know, eventually. That's my cunning plan.
Do I get any as well?
Yeah, that's my cunning plan.
Osmosis in my direction too.
Yeah, exactly. No, I need all of it I can get, none for you. But great pleasure to have Kat with us, and great pleasure to welcome back in Carlos Hernandez. Carlos, great pleasure. You are looking well, and how are you doing? Are you doing well and good and all that stuff?
I'm doing very well. I handed a whole heaping pile of pages to my editor. She's about halfway through it, really liked it, so that's always good news. I have a few more pages to finish because writing is terrible. It's a terrible vocation, really, just like, you know, study science, but it's actually really good. It's doing really well, and you know, it's a sort of thing where best of times, worst of times, you know, trying to meet these deadlines is hard, but I like what I'm writing. Book 2 is coming along really well, so, you know, all of that is good.
That's awesome. You got people. I mean, you know, my daughter beating down the door to get it, so, you know, it's no pressure. It's just, you know, my daughter's happiness all rests on you. No, but I'm sure it's going to be as amazing as the first book was. And again, first book was really great, so you folks should absolutely check it out. Carlos, you are playing today whom, sir?
I am playing Ludicrous Sleepwell, who goes by other names as well, but he is the anthropomorphic cat who apparently has a very important decision to make. Right after the game last time, Johnny was on Twitter telling me, you know, that this momentous moment was coming. So I've been preparing. You know, I've been listening to a lot of Tracy Chapman. You know, so I'm prepared. You know, leave tonight or live and die this way. That's my motto.
I really want that to happen, where you're making this decision and just in the background, like as the ship is pulling away. Oh my God, that's awesome. No, I'm although I was thinking the other Tracy Chapman song might fit the decision, which is "Give me one reason to leave here and I'll turn myself around." Oh my God. Anyway, it's a great pleasure to have Carlos back, and awesome to have you, man. And I cannot wait to see how this decision actually plays out. And last but certainly not least, someone who is an awesome dude and who is doing amazing stuff himself, including with D&D clubs and like all of this really, really cool stuff with the young peoples that he's bringing into the game. And that, of course, is our good friend Zach Clay. Zach, welcome back. Second time for you this week as well, after your triumphant Our Vocalist appearance. How have you been the last few days, and who are you playing today?
I've been great. I've been doing a lot of world building, actually. A lot of these fantasy series that are out there, Game of Thrones. I've been recently rewatching all the Harry Potter movies too, and I forgot how good they are. And using those as inspiration to do some new world building and kind of prepare myself for when I inevitably want to start running my own games again. And it's really cathartic and really nice to be able to just kind of dive into your own world and be like, oh, this NPC is like this. Why don't I have a Minotaur that's also a wizard? So
Nice.
things are cool.
Oh, please tell me you're going to do that and you're going to create the Minotaur Wizard. That's just as a book immediately.
Oh,
like,
no, it's
the Minotaur
it's already
Wizard.
a thing.
Love it.
You'll probably hear about it. So yeah, I'm having a great time running a D&D club for middle schoolers, which is as exciting.
Can I just like teleport back to middle school and you can be my teacher?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's not just me. I am very, very fortunate to have one of the parents of the students that's in the club helps out, and he is a military veteran, and he describes me. I am the nice guy. He is the one who will tell you to sit down, shut up, and play the game. And I need him because he's helped me wrangle all these young people together. So it's not just me, and teachers and people like also, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but Lauren Urban, who's the community manager for D&D Beyond, I was able to meet with her at TwitchCon. And long story short, she actually provided us through D&D Beyond a free copy of every single D&D book and source material
that's awesome.
for the club.
Good for them.
So now they have all that as well. So it's so it's great. So it's not just me, but I'm very thankful and happy. And tonight on Esper Genesis, I will be playing Cosmoritis, the Bellari hunter, who is he's still here, and he's ready to still alive, ready to be back at more than 0 hit points, and then figure out what the hell we're gonna do after we get out of this mess, if we get out of this mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That you got, yes. I would say that's a fair comment. Because it was very close. It was a very close thing, I would say. Oops, sorry about that. It was a very close thing last time that we played together, because it was very much a danger of that things were not going to work out for Kaz, who actually had to make a couple of saves where it was very possible that he could have crit failed, and we would not be having this discussion with his character. So, but he survived, he made it through, and so we will talk about this during the summary. One last thing I want to do, just as a quick pop, we are of course sponsored by Alligator Alley Entertainment, and so I wanted to show off on stream the new book that has just been released in PDF and is going out in print now soon, and that is the Threats Database, which is finally complete. It is the monster manual essentially for this. It's amazing. Like the stuff, some of the images in here is just, it's their typical like top flight, what do you mean it's not a team of 50, as opposed to a team of 4 type of stuff. But this stuff is just amazing. You can see from the pictures, the statistics, and it all just feels very Esper Genesis. It's just really, really good quality stuff. And you can see it. Like, look at that.
I mean, it's ridiculously good looking stuff.
Right? Like, it's just, I can't even, like, it's just so cool. And I've seen some of that being done even with my Forbidden Library stuff that they're working on. So anyway, I wanted to give that a pop. They have given us, of course, a copy of this. And I don't know actually if I was about to say, I don't know if I gave a copy, and then I'm like, should I be giving a copy of the Monster Manual to my players? Maybe I shouldn't be doing that, But anyway, for example, I don't imagine that you're ever going to be facing in the near future the Borlaken Sky Saw, which is lighter than air,
of course,
and is sometimes used as a mount in the clouds. They're known as cloud chargers. I don't know why I would think that's not the coolest thing of all time, and that I would So it's
Sleepwell's, he's thinking now.
It's
might need a mount.
It's so good. Anyway, but I wanted to give them a pop. They do great stuff, and the next up for them is the Master Technician's Guide, which is essentially the Dungeon Master's Guide, which I am eagerly awaiting, and they are working very quickly on that, as well as Forbidden Library. So it's on the way. But anyway, you should support them if you like this campaign, and if you're interested yourself, you should go and check it out. They have a bunch of adventures that are released now, and so good guys and a really good system. So with that said, let us get into the summary of what happened, and then talk about this big decision that has to be made for Sleepwell. Let me just fire up the music here. Let's see. Let's get some ominous music here.
Let's make it nice. Like, what about the smart theme?
How about that? That's nice, right?
Yeah.
That should be fine. We'll just do a little ethereal plane. Should be
La
good.
la 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 la. Sleepwell's gonna die.
So, in our last session, the crew has been, over the last few sessions, on the Hespera station, which is a station that was under the control, originally, of Zephyr Corps, a shadowy corporation that apparently had been engaged in experiments of different kinds, experiments which may have even had an impact because of their connection with organized crime and the shadow technocracy, may even have had an effect on Sleepwell's father, who Sleepwell ran into a few sessions ago. But in any case, the experiments that they did might well have also had a connection with these hybrid creatures, synthetic and organic creatures, such as what we have seen in the beloved Alfred, about which more in a moment, that Sleepwell has been dealing with. And so as the party got onto Hespera Station, there were other reasons, by the way, I should say, to go in addition. Petra, of course, has been having these continual connections, these echoes of something in her past that seems to be connecting her somehow to this AI, and that is a little troubling. And Aramis and Sleepwell have had more than a few bits of tension between them as they've been trying to figure out what to do with Sleepwell, who wants to be both rebellious and confident and cocky and, you know, basically an adolescent, as Sleepwell is. And then, of course, Kaz himself, who has been trying to work through and help his party, even in this particular case, at the cost of almost potentially his own life. So it's been a very deadly kind of experience for Kaz. So they've all had reasons to go there, accompanied by Spindra, who said that she would help them. They were originally sent to Hespera Station by a guy named Abraxas, who it came out later on was known as Garland, back in his more legitimate days. One of the best computer and hacker people that Zephyr Corp had before he basically got burned. Somebody basically wanted to take him out, and so they basically burned him, and Abraxas, Garland, became Abraxas and swore revenge and became basically this information broker who decided that he would use this against them, use his powers against them, and would swear revenge to bring down Zephyr Corp by all means necessary. But he apparently was not the only one who had these concerns, because another one, whose name is Orisa, popularly known as Angel, also contacted the party while they were on the station and told them that she also, currently working for Zephyr Corps, wanted to bring Zephyr Corps down. Abraxas knew this person and basically found that she was too much of a corporate stooge and that she couldn't be trusted. She, for her part, thought that Abraxas was a loose cannon and does things too sloppily and is going to get everybody killed. And so there's a lot of love-hate thing, maybe more towards hate, going on between the two of them, with the party, of course, as is usually the case in these matters, caught in the middle. Once the party was able to explore the station, they discovered that, in fact, many bad things had been happening on the station. Most of the people here, staff and otherwise, were dead, killed by the very abominations, apparently, they had been doing experiments on. And a group of people that had been sent in, a mercenary group of Matakai, that had been sent in to try to solve this problem, themselves were mostly destroyed by some of these creatures. And not just the hybrid creatures, but a lot of robotic and drone creatures that were on the station. Why, you ask, would this be happening? Because apparently a virus had infected these creatures, a virus which had also been apparently in development on the station, called the Long Winter. This thing also managed to infect several of the party's smaller communication devices, and at one point, Sleepwell, to save the party's lives because of a very bad situation they were in, had to activate Alfred and get him to access the network, which meant that although he destroyed the immediate problem, it appears that he was then also infected by the long winter, which perhaps is going to cause problems for them down the line. The party managed eventually to decide that they were going to have to destroy the station, and after being almost duped by what sounded like a female scientist in trouble, but turned out to be nothing more than the Long Winter trying to basically bait them so that the Long Winter could destroy them, because the Long Winter is psychotic, it has no mouth but it must scream. The party, while they were in this room, ended up having a huge encounter with a bunch of creatures. They managed to fight most of them back, although almost at Kaz's cost of his own life, and basically set it up where the Matakai shuttle is rigged to blow, and the station itself has been moved towards one of the space hulks that is floating outside of this space graveyard within which the station was hidden. And so as we prepare to get started here, the party has about 45 seconds left, according to Spindra, who has been shouting the countdown at them over the last 2 minutes or so, to get out and get back to the ship. The problem the party faces now is that Kaz is unconscious, obviously, and so Petra and Aramis has picked up Kaz and is now bringing him back to the ship. But that means there is not anyone else to be able to pick up with Sleepwell the currently disabled form of Alfred. And so now, as we bring things back to the party, the time is ticking down, time is pressing, everything is going wrong, everyone's in big trouble, and Sleepwell has a big decision to make. And as we left the last session, Sleepwell was looking down at the Alfred and then back up at his party with this stricken expression on his face. And with that, I will hand things back over to the party. And I guess specifically, because Kaz is unconscious, so I'm assuming Petra and Aramis are just bustling him towards the ship, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Petra, but I'm guessing that's what you're doing. You're muted, I think. Yeah.
Yes, we've each got, I've got him by one arm, Aramis has it by the other arm, and we are trying to drag him away.
Okay, so you're trying to bring him down there, which you are able to do. And Sleepwell, you are where you see yourself. The Alfred is currently disabled.
So just catch me up a little bit on what exactly happened to Alfred, because like the last I saw him, he was functional, taken over by the psychotic AI,
Right.
but not prone and disabled. So what exactly
So
happened?
what happened was you switched him off. So there's a kill switch that you had actually put in on there. You may or may not remember that you had put in a kill switch, not a verbal switch, but actually a kind of basically a switch that you would put in as kind of a failsafe.
Oh, I think I discovered it. I think that was a
or
roll.
you discovered. I'm sorry, you discovered it. That's right. But you flipped it because you needed to shut him off because otherwise it looked pretty likely going to kill you because your verbal commands, even your verbal overrides, were not working. And the Long Winter was, of course, while you were doing this, taunting you and saying, you have no chance and blah, 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 blah. And so you ended up shutting him down. And actually, while he was shut down, you and I believe it was Aramis, I don't remember who, brought him with you into this room so that you could get the ship moving towards the Space Hulk, thing to destroy the station. Which would have been fine if it were not for the fact that the Long Winter then sprung this ambush on you, which you have just managed to fight off. So the problem now is that you just don't have enough people if you're going to save Kaz and you and Alfred, and get out alive.
Right. So I have a couple of other sort of like questions and ideas and things. So I'm looking stricken right now at Alfred, but like, is the threat eliminated at this point? Like in terms of like, is the AI not what might be aboard Alfred, but like in terms of the ship, is the threat eliminated?
The current number of robot drones, etc., is eliminated for the moment, but the Long Winter has not been, purged. You have just managed to destroy the drones that it was using to stop you. And you managed to override, and I think you might have done this with Aramis. You wouldn't remember it. I mean, Aramis had you do this. Were able to override the commands to keep the Long Winter from stopping the ship from, the station from heading towards the Space Hulk. But it is still there, and it's still basically yelling and screaming at you and, declaring vengeance.
We can hear it yelling right now.
Oh, yeah. Not through Alfred, but through the ship, etc.
Through the ship, right? Station. So it is yelling and screaming. So there's computer power that's going,
right.
That's still running, that's activating it.
That's right.
Okay. My comm is working.
Your comm is working, although you have like immediate comm, like with your compatriots. But if you remember, any more communication than that, if you flip it on to sort of access other parts of the station, you run the risk of it getting infected also. This was one of the problems you were having, is that anything that needs to hook into a network is subject to being taken over. You were able
to communicate with our ship, I guess, in that same closed network.
Yes, within that closed loop, because Spindra's right next to the ship anyway, so you could basically
right.
to her. Yeah.
So what I'm remembering is that we have a whole bunch of people on that ship who've just been kind of like sitting there, filling their diapers this entire time that we've been gone writing. But now, if we deactivated the threat, the first thing that I'm going to call out is like, I need 4 people here stat right away. Just come running, and we're going to run right back to the ship. Come here right now.
And so you do this, and you hear Spindra say, "Are you out of your mind, Sleepwell? We've got 40 seconds left." And
20 to get here and 20 to get back. Send some people here right now.
oh, for the love of it, and she's like, you hear like yelling and like barking orders.
Run! Stop it! Run!
And so, Petra, you see as you're dragging Kaz out, you actually see some people emerge from the Hyperlance and sort of like then like just book it like in your general direction towards the door, because both doors, the door on this side and the door on the far end of the entry corridor, are open, and the door on the far end of the corridor is the thing that opens out to the hangar. So you can see them like bolting, basically trying to get down there. As you're doing this, you hear the countdown go to 30 seconds. And if you're just doing a quick mental calculation, your guess, Petra, is that they're going to maybe get Alfred and Sleepwell back to the ship with like 5 seconds. And like, they're not going to get the ship out of the station in 5 seconds. Sleepwell, you don't see that because you're behind where she is, so...
Wish I could help, guys.
Yes, Kaz, you sense nothing but the void.
I'm just chilling in my suit.
You sense the void,
taking a little nap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kaz is having a nice time.
I'm trying to figure out if I have any Esper powers that will help, and I don't think I do.
Meanwhile, I'm sort of shouting to Spindra. I'm like, do you have any life signs on the Matakai? We need to get him out of here, too, if we can at all do that.
And she says back to you, I don't have any life signs of him, and I'm pretty sure that I don't think he made it, Sleepwell. He was trying to hold back the drones when we left.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to pick up the
something
Alfred
you missed
and
last
just doing my best to move
Carlos, was when we were...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When we were in the HQ and we were like messing with stuff and trying to get everything in order, I went out into the hallway and went back to that engineering room where we left him, because we were going to overload the engineering core, but the door was like malfunctioned closed, and then he wasn't responding, so we assumed that he was dead, and the door wouldn't even open.
Yep.
So even if you wanted to get him out, the door is like jammed shut. And Sleepwell would know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Yeah.
And Petra, you can tell me if there's anything you want to do. I'm not trying to jump past you, but they basically run past you. So these ones sort of run, they stop for a second at you, and then they run past you. And they get to you, Sleepwell, and you hear the voice say, 20 seconds to detonation. And your own destruction, you pieces of garbage! And that's obviously the voice of the Long Winter. And Spindra says, we're not going to make it, Sleepwell. This isn't going to work. And they pick it up, and they're starting to, like, drag him with you. Petra, by this point, you're just about back to the ship.
And of course I'm helping. I'm getting under there. I'm leading the way to try to make it as fast as possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Petra, you're now on the ship. With Kaz, and you and Aramis are now back, and Spindra is there waiting for you. And Spindra stands by the door, the open door, and you can look out and see, Sleepwell dragging with the other crew, the party, and you can hear the computer voice go, 15 seconds. And Spindra is standing with her hand near the door, like basically the door shut button, and is just staring at you.
Oh, Jesus.
10 seconds.
I shout, hurry, hurry, down the hall, as though that's going to help.
Okay.
And so, I have no way of healing Kaz at all. We established that last time.
There is one way.
There is one way.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, that's right, because of Kaz specifically. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
there is a way.
Energy coil.
Yes, there is a way, but
also,
go ahead, Kaz.
There is. Thanks for giving me Rich's email, because I sent him like 16 questions and he answered.
Oh, good.
all of them.
Good. What did he say?
And about Bellare, and the only things that can heal me right now is stuff like any DM decision like that energy coil, or technically a healing ampoule would work right now.
Would
when they release the when they release the Master Technician's Guide or whatever it's called, that's going to change. But right now, a healing ampoule technically would work. That's the only thing, which is like the healing potion. But
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. The coil that I want to point out is functional, but do you want to explain the conceivable problem with the coil?
And then the thing about the coil is that it's currently charged with the energy of the AI that's trying to kill us. So if you use it to revive me, who knows if I'll even be me, or if I'll be able to fight it, or if it'll work.
Well, you would be you because you're a star inside of the suit, but the suit might act in ways that you inside wouldn't.
You're
like.
right. You're right.
So,
and this leads us into all sorts of interesting questions, like is it the energy equivalent to the soul and thinking and this sort of thing?
is this real life?
Hence the subtitle, Espergenesis, Soul Provider.
Hence the reason that I'd be willing to go ahead and risk it, since there's not a lot of time. It would, of course, interject a possible plot complication for later on down the road, but we can
Spoken like a
survive
true novelist. Introduce
Okay, so you're going to do that?
It's his soul. I'm willing to risk it.
Zach will remember this.
That's tremendous. I'm willing to risk his soul. All right. So you
Character development, here we come.
You do the you attach the energy coil to him and zap. Now I think we were doing the same amount as a healing ampoule would normally do, Zach, I believe is what we did for the coil.
Well, the coil had a specific amount, which was 1d6 plus con modifier.
Okay, that's right. So this is better than that. Well, no, this is stronger than that. This is going to be 1d8 plus a con modifier. So you can roll that.
Me or
you?
Petra?
You can roll it. All responsibility for the hit points or lack thereof is on you.
1d8 plus con?
Correct.
Or just 1d8? Okay.
No, 1d8 plus con.
All right. 4.
Okay. So, you are at 4 hit points now. As you come to, there is a moment where your vision flashes, almost like there's a moment of, you feel just for a second as if you are staring at this enormous, jagged, disturbing-looking orb of energy, in the center of which seems to be a face. Just a like this, and then it's gone, and you're you, and they're like, huh? And you see sort of Petra looking above you, looking anxiously, and you hear the computer saying,
"Oh goodness,
10 seconds."
Okay. Give me a second.
And I say, any odd visions you saw, I'm sure are just hallucinations and nothing to do.
Pay no attention to
give
the
me a
AI
second.
in your field of vision.
Oh man. And in the meantime, Sleepwell, you are now probably you're out of the corridor, I would say, and you're now in the main hangar, sort of frantically pulling on the very, very heavy Alfred towards the ship.
So the 5 of us, like, so we heard just now it's like 10 seconds?
Right.
How does that look based on the progress that we've made? Like, do I think we're gonna make it?
I think you think that you will get to the ship, but you're not going to get into it and have the ship get out. Unless, maybe, I don't want to tell you what to do. You might just be able to get into the ship. Maybe.
I guess, like, so, like, I'm trying to think about sort of like the very few powers I have left, and if there's a way, how close is the other shuttle?
It's like right next. It's you, and then this essentially like a gangplank, a little bit larger than that, but basically a dock between the two of you, and then on the other side of this relatively small dock, maybe 15, 20 feet wide, is the other shuttle.
All right. So, like, I keep trying to use this freaking power, and it hasn't helped me yet. But maybe this is the time.
Hope springs eternal. What's the power?
that analyze device will actually be worth the fucking slot I paid
Oh,
for.
no. Hey, listen, Analyze Device actually has helped get these doors open once. So it has had success before. In fact, the only reason this thing is moving towards the Space Hulk, I think, is because of Analyze Device. So
Well, that's true. Yeah, okay, but it's let me down before. I know.
that's fair.
It's like it's either Analyze Device or it's the other one that I have that I always get confused by. Like one of those two. Visual Display, but I think it's Analyze. Well, it might be Visual Display. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I want to see if I can just turn off the auto destruct that's in that ship that's going.
Oh, Virtual Display, I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
So the virtual display is any digital data display you can see within range, and so that's you cannot see whatever is inside that shuttle, as far as that's concerned. But Analyze Device, the problem with that is that range for Analyze Device is touch.
Oh, okay. So I'm not even there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's right there, right?
It's close. Yeah, like if you get to, you could get into the shuttle, the Matakai shuttle, but then there's no way you get into your own ship. So in other words, when you get there, it's like you go left or right, right? Like, and you can either get onto the Matakai shuttle or you can get onto your shuttle, but you won't have time for both. And either way, you will get onto your ship.
I know that. Like basically what I'm thinking is, so like since there doesn't look like we're going to have all sorts of time to make it to the other ship, if we all went into the Matakai shuttle, I deactivate the self-destruct and then I fly that out with the crew of 4 that I have, then we can just follow the other ship out. That's what I'm thinking. And so it's a matter of, can I get there, activate self-destruct, and fly the freaking thing?
That's a good question.
These are the questions.
These are the questions that alter our time. Also, this music is not nearly upbeat enough for this. There's got to be, we got more than that.
Spindra, can you deactivate the self-destruct on the Matakai ship remotely?
And Spindra says, you just had me activate it remotely. What do you mean?
We don't need to double kill this thing. Can you deactivate it?
It's just, no, not in time. And
Can you tell me how to do it if I was touching the display?
I mean, maybe, but we don't. And you hear 8 seconds. She says, you, and she's kind of like stammering, like, and Petra, she's looking back at you again, like kind of with her hand over the, the button.
I'm gonna shoot Petra, or not Petra. I'm gonna shoot Spindra, like in the face.
Okay. I'm just gonna nod at her and say, "All right."
So okay, and Kaz, you have a chance to act before I talk about what happened. Then, no, you're just kind of like, what's going on with my life?
Yeah. Ew. Okay. So the only thing I say to sleep well in the 2 seconds that in the 2 seconds that I have is, do you want me to save you, or do you want me to riskily save all of you?
I say,
because I mean, either way, I'm not sure.
Save the others is what I say.
Ooh. Okay. So basically, it seems like they would run onto the ship just as it's supposed to explode, or they would run onto the hyperlance just as the station is about to explode.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wish I had. I'm gonna roll a die for this because I have 2 ideas and I don't know which one.
I love it.
Okay. So.
The power of fate compels you.
Oh, this is like a two-faced solution. He's a villain in the Batman universe.
Okay. All right. Number 2. Okay. So they are all carrying Alfred together, right?
Yes. Although I don't know
How-
yet exactly what Sleepwell's going to do at this last moment, but from what you can see, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I will. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to crawl. Well, I'm gonna
You
get
can stagger
enough.
to your feet if you want. Like, I mean,
Okay. I get up. I I move off of the ship, and basically what I'm trying to do is I have this ability called Dimensional Pocket, and it allows me to create an invisible entrance above me that other creatures can enter into, one creature at a time. And basically what I want to try to do is any of them that are running that want to get out of the impending doom will run directly below that space and get instantly transported into it, regardless of figuring out how we're going to get back out. I mean, I'm assuming that it just kind of stays there, and then we'd have to like park the ship into it or something. But
how many people can that hold? Or creatures?
Eight medium or smaller creatures. Only problem is that I don't imagine that it would grab Alfred, and that's the only thing.
Why
But
wouldn't it
basically
grab Alfred?
Because either because Alfred isn't a creature, I mean maybe he is, or if he's unconscious. But I honestly, it's up to the DM. But basically what I want to do is I'm going to step off of the ship so that I meet them and create this space above me, so that basically in the last few seconds they run directly under it and are transported into it. Then the station blows up, and then we're all safe inside. That's what I
So
want to do.
here's this is really interesting. All right, so I need to know what Sleepwell is going to do. So how much of this are you able to? Are you basically just yelling to Sleepwell, like, you know, like what are you yelling to him? Because it's going to depend on whether Sleepwell, like,
I think I would
well, you're kind of roboting out. Hold on, man.
I mean, more for our crew, and
yeah, sorry, you're roboting out a bit. Let's see, let's try that again. It's appropriate you're roboting out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
What's that, Kyle? We can't make you out, man.
Clear now-ish.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And I think I'm also hearing you guys at a delay. Like I think I'm like 4 seconds behind, because you guys, we say stuff on top of each other. So at some point I think I'll pop out and back in. But
Yeah,
anyway,
okay.
So what cause I think my priority is I want Sleepwell and our crew to survive. Alfred is a question mark for me right now. I don't know if the talent will work for him, but I'm basically getting up, stepping off of the hyperlance, casting Dimensional Pocket above me, and then right before I'm transported into it, I shout out to them, run to me if you want to live, and then I disappear, and there's a flash above my head.
Okay, so
That decides it, because we've used the Dimensional Pocket before, so I see that, and I'm going to say, fast as we can!
okay, so the thing that's going to, if this works at all, it's going to work because unlike Rope Trick, on which this is based, you don't have to climb the rope. So what that means is that you sort of are like, so you just, you kind of zip out. So what happens is you zip out, Petra, Spindra, on your sort of slams the door closes. She screams forward, go, and the hyperlance like lurches backwards, and starts sort of turning around. You have already disappeared. Sleepwell, I'm going to try to decide if I want to give a check.
Oh my god.
No, there's 5 of you. So you kind of push, you push forward, and what you folks see in the window, Petra, as the hyperlance is on the way out, is Sleepwell and the rest of them are get into sort of in this square, and then they all wink out, including Alfred, as the hyperlance basically shoots out of the station. And as you're shooting out of the station, you hear, "All of you will die!" And then this massive explosion that pushes forward. The hyperlance is buffeted and everyone is thrown forward. In fact, the hyperlance lurches as it's taking like shock waves through this thing. And you're just able to see as you're sort of knocked backwards, Petra, onto the ground. Looking up, you can see this flare of light that's blinding in the view screens to the outside as just because it's not just destroying the station, right? All of these hulks are just, chain reaction.
It's like the scene in Finding Nemo with all the mines.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like as the ship is going forward, and you can see the fireball is sort of expanding from the station right on top of the hyperlance. And there's one point where you can see that the hyperlance's engines, the sort of, you can't really tell the difference between the fireball and the sort of exhaust from the hyperlance's engines. So close are they as you're sort of doing this. And then there's this enormous sort of pull that you can feel, like in your mind something reminds you of maybe this is what it would be like to be ripped by an angel from the earth as you're just thrown forward, and the entire area just blows up, and there is just this one blinding flash. And Kaz, you and Sleepwell and the crew members and Alfred are sitting in a rather crowded but still functional dimensional pocket. Now, as far as I know, you can still talk within this dimensional pocket. It's like Aladdin, right? Like, eeny bitty little space. So you can still sort of talk to each other if you wish, but this is what you've got. So I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to jump back to Petra. With you and Sleepwell, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I'm just like...
I grabbed Sleepwell. It worked! We're alive.
I hug you.
I hug
wrap my
Sleepwell.
arms around Starboy, and I'm just like...
You're like banging into the other crew members who are all just like, oh, like no.
No, I hug them too. I bring us all in. We're all coming
And
in.
you got Alfred too. I wasn't sure if it would work on... Okay. Now there's a problem though, is now, I can survive in deep space, but they're gonna have to come back for us, and I'm not sure if they're gonna know exactly where we are at all, or how we communicate that to them. But we made it. And honestly, it would be extremely hilarious if this is how we die.
Like a Laurel and Hardy skit where I'm like doing this to you now,
Yes.
So as you're all sort of sitting there, and the crew members hearing what you just said about the deep space thing, are all looking, sort of at each other. Of course, they still have their helmets on, so you can't see what the expressions are like, but you just hear these sort of heavy breathing coming from within, their comms, and they don't say anything, but most of them, are just kind of sitting there. One of them has his hands around his knees and his head down, kind of rocking back and forth as he's sitting there. And in the meantime, back on the Hyperlance, Petra Spindra has been essentially screaming nonstop ever since the explosion died down. That idiot, that absolute idiot. And she's just screaming, like pounding the wall. And she just turns back to you and she says, all of them dead. Why? All of them dead? For what?
I don't know.
We
can't figure that out right now, but we're alive. So take a breath and enjoy that.
And she just sinks down into the seat of the you're on, basically they just got into the Hyperland. She sinks down into the seat that's like just past the airlock, and is silent for a long while. And then you hear sort of meekly coming over the comms, boss? And Spindra doesn't say anything, and then, boss? What? Where are we going? And she says, you just slow the engines down when you can, conserve power. We've got to check the engines anyway and see whether or not how much damage there was to the hull and the shield. we've also got to figure out if there's any reason to. And she just sort of stares over at you and she says, we lost all of them just because that idiot needed to save that thing. Including 4 of my people, too.
I'm nodding. I spread my hands helplessly and say, I don't know why he felt he had to save it. But he did. There's no going back from that.
And she just sighs, she shrugs her shoulders and she says, so, what now? Pelseros? What?
I think you're right that right now we should take a moment and breathe, conserve power, and take time to think.
All right.
God knows we haven't had enough time to sit and think for a while.
Right.
Let's indulge ourselves while we can.
And she kind of nods slowly and she says, get some of them. She kind of keys on her comm and she says, get a couple of people down to the engines, see whether there's anything left of it to salvage, and get someone checking the hull. Petra and I will be up in just a minute. And then she gets cut off and you hear the person say, boss, we have a problem. And Spindra says, we always have a problem. What is the problem? She says, there's another ship. What do you mean there's another ship? I can't read the signature. And then she says, well, patch it through here. And so if you may remember that you're next to the airlock, and there's an auxiliary control thing. So she, jumps up and looks, and she kind of shakes her head and gives you this kind of like grim smile. And she says, of course, it's the other Madakai ship. Remember? The reinforcement one?
Mm-hmm.
Have they noticed us yet? It doesn't look like it, boss. They're not moving intercept. They're heading back towards where the station was. Or is. Or was. And Spindra looks at you wordlessly. And kind of as if to say, Petra, like...
If they haven't noticed us yet, let's stay very still and perhaps they'll continue not to notice us.
And she nods and she says, all right, cut the rest of the power, she orders to the front, and you can feel, she says, just leave basic gravity on. And so you can feel the ship is starting to drift a little bit. While she is sort of doing that and drifting, what would you like to do, Petra? Obviously, you're going to be, this thing about taking a rest and a breath, I know is true. But beyond that, is there anything specific you want to do while you're drifting like this? You're basically just sitting on the floor, more or less, near where the airlock is.
I think I'm just trying to catch my breath and absorb all these sudden changes and the fact that a moment ago I thought we were goners and now we're not. So Petra's just breathing hard for the moment.
I'll buy that. She, as you are doing that, she watches and looks at the sort of auxiliary control, and then she watches for a while, and they're still going down there. They ought to be able to pick up the same radioactive fallout we can. They've got to know there's nothing there. But she just shakes her head. Looks like they're determined to go there one way or the other. They're going to go right to where the station actually was. So I want to jump back to Sleepwell and Kaz here. Kaz, so Dimensional Pocket will last for an hour.
Yep.
How long are you, or I shouldn't say how long are you staying there, presumably as long as it takes. Is there anything else you're attempting, either one of you, to prepare, get ready, or are you just sort of also taking breath and then hoping for the best?
I would try using our comms to try to communicate and see if that would work first. Don't know if it will.
Let's see. Well, It says attacks and powers can't cross through the entrance into or out of the extra dimensional space, but those inside can see out of it, as if through a 3-foot by 5-foot window centered on the entrance. So I'm not sure that the comms would work out of that dimensional pocket. My guess is it probably wouldn't.
Can we reach through? Like, is it permeable? Like, we can put a hand into the...
Yes, but if you do that, you'll be immediately exposed to whatever's out there. If you're dealing with radiation and or vacuum of space,
yeah,
you would be affected by it.
Yeah. So, like, we have about 13 seconds or so before, like, we start, but, like, like your mouth starts to microwave in deep space and things like that. But, like, really what gets you is the vacuum. So, like, as long as we have air pockets, like, because, like, astronauts, their suits have torn during spacewalks and stuff, and that's just like a thing. So it's like, and I think if I'm remembering, I'm so sorry, it's just been so long since we entered into this. We went in with full-on spacesuits to the station because there wasn't gravity working at first and stuff. So we had full environmental suits when we went in.
That is true, yes. That is correct. Yep.
So I'm going to, first of all, say to everybody, breathe as shallowly as possible, conserve as much oxygen as you can. We don't know how long we have in here. And what we need to do is create a signal. So I turned to Kaz, it's like, what can we do to signal people so they know exactly where they can pick us up? You have like a grenade or something?
Let me see. I have a flare.
I'm gonna look through my inventory as well.
I have 6 flares. Those are probably the best thing to signal stuff with. The only problem is that as soon as we open the space, I think it's go time. We just have to
I guess that's what I was asking. Like, we have a window, right, that we can see out of. Can I just put my hand out of it and stick the flare and then let it float off and put my hand back in?
Mm-hmm.
I would suppose so, although we're talking about a space flare, so we're talking about something that's designed to be able to
find out.
Okay. Because if you're talking about like a flare that would exist within typical oxygen of a space station or something like that, that's one thing. Okay. So,
the description in the compendium or the core manual just says a flare burns for 1 hour, providing bright light in a 20-foot radius. And with the word burn, I imagine it requires oxygen. That's just a guess.
I'd say that's a good guess.
So, if we were, and I suppose I would probably know this if I'm the one that casted it, but it's ultimately up to you. If we were able to transport stuff out of the space without exposing ourselves, then I don't know. Sleep well. Probably the only thing I could do is like shoot stuff out of it. Alternatively, as far as I'm aware, I recently came upon a rich pool of knowledge about my the origins of my race. Very rich pool of knowledge, and
and you learned about a Les Coufflare.
Yes.
Okay.
These aren't. Yeah, unfortunately, these aren't Lesku flares, so they're not going to work in deep space. But
branding.
I might be able to eject myself out of my suit, and although I don't want to be out there too long, the only in deep space is one of the only places where I don't suffer from exposure to being poisoned.
So you can imagine how nonplussed I am to hear this, and I'm just like, I mean, leave your suit and just like float. You won't dissipate. You'll be okay out there.
I will need air after a short amount of time, but I will survive.
How do we get
it's
you
actually
back in
worse? Oh, I can do that as long as you get the suit to me. I can just compress
Well, I can
back
just
into it.
we can hold the suit out like by the legs. We'll all of us will hold onto the legs, and you can like eject yourself and go back. This is brilliant. This is a perfect. I mean, this is really a perfect sleep well plan. Like this couldn't be better for him.
Oh man.
He's like, yeah, do that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Do you guys think I should do it now, or should we? I think we should do it now because who knows, they might
Time
think we're all
is
dead.
on the wing.
The rest of the crew is just shivering and not responding. They are clearly we're not.
You guys will be okay. Just hold on to a leg here. Two of you here. I'll put myself in the middle here. Gotcha.
Okay.
I gotcha, man. I gotcha.
So, would and Arv, you can help me with this. So, I am able to open my suit and eject myself out of it. Normally, when I'm outside of my suit in a normal environment, every round I have to make a saving throw to not be poisoned and impaired.
Right.
But Rich said the only time a Bellare does not suffer from exposure, which is the poison and restrained effect, is when they're floating in deep space or within a radiant energy field such as a star or energy reactor. So I think I would be fine.
Yep.
But I think the other thing is that Bellare do need air to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think eventually I would start to suffocate, but at least I wouldn't be like being destroyed by radiation or cold of deep space.
Well,
or
I was about to
other
say,
weird stuff.
and ironically, you're basically exiting into a radioactive field. So in a way, it's like a nice bath, you know, like
Yeah, exactly.
It's all like it's all good. So I would agree with that.
Yes.
What I will, and what I'm going to ask basically is, as you float, there's going to be a certain point where you're going to have to start making con checks and then saving throws, basically, based upon sort of exposure to air. When you were floating out there, did he say anything about how much awareness you have visually or otherwise of things around you? Like,
let me see. A Bellare can see in one direction. They can choose whatever direction they want to look in without having to move any part of their form. Their vision functions normally otherwise. That's all he said.
Okay.
So I can see
okay,
like a normal being.
Okay.
Eyes are just
I'm
radiation
also
detectors.
Yeah, and I'm not amorphous completely, like we were discussing, like the possibility of being able to squeeze through spaces.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
Okay.
What's your form?
But all Bellare are a golden starlight colored protean or protean energy creature.
Right. Well, Protean means that you are amorphous. It means that you would change shifts. So Proteus is the god of shifts.
And I can. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I can assume the shape of a humanoid while I'm in my amorphous shape, but I can't like make myself a literal flat puddle of energy.
Right.
Oh, I'm a star humanoid now.
So you can't be the Wonder Twins, is what I'm hearing. It's like you can't.
But anyway, and then even then, I'm not too sure about the air thing, because I think my details say I do not need to eat or sleep, but they do not talk about needing air, which means you would assume that I would need it if it's not mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing. But otherwise, I think they just kind of probably what happens is Bellare are in what's that super famous picture of the Pillars of Creation.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I imagine Bellare are, and I'm sure that has gases in it that they then breathe, and that's like their home. So if I'm in deep space, sure I can survive, but I'm technically not. There's no breathable air for me. So that's it.
Okay. So all right, you're going to try this plan?
If I feel like I could do it without exposing the rest of the party to deep space by opening the dimensional pocket temporarily or squeezing through it. I don't know.
Okay, so I would say that you're able to do that. So you sleep well are basically extending the body out. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Basically like the torso, and then we're holding onto the legs on the inside.
Okay. So you do that, and then Kaz, you sort of eject out. and you
Yep.
are now sort of glowing, and you are out in deep space. You can see debris in every direction. You can see, you can sort of even sense the sort of white hot radioactive heat. And then you were also aware of the fact that that heat seems to be moving around you, shifting as if it's being displaced by something. And then you see or feel maybe that heat kind of moved past you. And then you realize why, because there is some other source that's coming towards you. And as you look over, you see that there is this essentially very large warship that is making its way into your space. And in fact, it is going to literally run into you very soon.
Nice. Well, I have no idea what my movement abilities are.
Limited, but we'll see what you want to do, and then I'll tell you if you can do it.
If what I would like to do, I think, and this is what Rich said as well, is I think it was one of those things where even though I asked him 17 questions, I'm only left with like 17 more questions. So I think ultimately it's going to be a lot of stuff up to DM discretion. So what I would like to do is, if I can, I would want to basically just make myself spread my form out as wide as possible, like a person who's like when they're free falling, spread out like in a star formation. I would just kind of try to make myself look like a big circle, and then I would try to like spin so that I could reflect off of things. I refract light somehow.
So, okay.
I don't imagine if I wanted to move anywhere, I'm not going to move fast enough to get to, like, I can't shoot my way to the hyperland. So I'm just imagining I'm just going to make myself a glowing Las Vegas sign that's blinking and reflecting light off of it to show that we're still alive.
Eat it, Joe's. Okay, so you
yes.
So you spin around. So you continue to spin around. And let's see.
And I think the last thing is, I think just off the top of my head, I think a character can breathe for an amount of minutes equal to their Constitution modifier, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right. Or can hold their breath.
Or hold their breath. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Anyway. Okay.
You could dip back into the suit and then go out again, right? You know, like basically.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Although it takes me, I think it takes me 10 minutes to do that. To like, if I'm entering into the suit, it takes 10 minutes for me to combination of enter into it and for it to recompress, in which time like I'm okay, but it takes me 10 minutes.
Okay.
And speaking of that, so you do this, you sort of rotate around, and Sleepwell, you can actually see that like he's, rotating in this way.
We're kind of just like wiggling his legs a little, like he's the world's biggest sparkler,
exactly.
Like 4th of July here.
Just running through my head when you were talking about that was just like, this is ground control to Major Tom. So you're sort of spinning around like this, and the warship, which is moving sort of directly towards you, is continuing to move towards you, and you are pretty confident that the warship is going to go directly through your space. Now, if the way that this would work is, if you want, you can compress yourself back into the suit and then pull yourself back into the space, the dimensional pocket. But if you do that, you are going to be taking some damage from this exposure while you're doing that, because as you said, it's going to take a little while. But you can do that if you wish. Otherwise, this thing is going to run directly into you. And frankly, the hanging down body of your suit, basically, from the dimensional pocket.
So wait. So when they ejected me out of my suit, I basically left the... what I imagined is that my suit is still in the dimensional pocket, but I ejected out.
Well, but
Just-
Sleepwell said that he was, and I quote, holding the legs so that the front of the suit is down into space. Correct me if I'm wrong. Carly.
No, that is what I said.
But you're still holding onto the suit.
Yes.
It's
We
not
can
just
yank
like
it back
floating
up.
away. Okay. Okay. That actually makes things better then. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna go back into the suit because
Okay.
I can use, it says I can use an action to close into my containment suit and then spend at least 10 minutes within it to well, I don't suffer damage when I'm outside. It's just that if I'm in an environment that's not deep space or a star, then I become poisoned. That's all.
Okay.
I don't take any damage.
But you're going to be in the suit, like that's okay. But you're going to be in the suit regardless. Like I mean, you're gonna,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna get rammed by a giant warship.
Okay.
No.
So you enter the suit, and I'm wondering about this 10 minutes. I think I don't think you're going to be in a position to tell them, "Hey guys, quick, pull me up," because I think you'll be in the suit, but we'll still not be really like capable of discussion with anybody when you first go in. So I think what happens is you enter the suit and Sleepwell, you are then conscious that Kaz is back in his suit, and you don't know why, but like the suit, he's definitely back in the suit, and you can feel almost like tingling in the legs as the energy seems to be spreading out to fill the suit again.
Right. So I mean, I know. See, like this is the thing where I'm trying to do what the character would do and not have extra information. But like, if he comes back into the suit, I'm thinking, well, what's the problem? You should be out there still signaling them.
Right.
So I think we would pull him back in and try to talk to him, and then he's non-responsive. So then I would be like trying to treat him or help him somehow.
So when you pull him back in, you do that. And the next thing you see is looking down below as you're sort of trying to treat him. You can, again, look directly down the porthole, I guess, basically. And suddenly you have this very odd experience of seeing almost as if you were going like through a three-dimensional cutaway. Suddenly you don't see space. Suddenly you see what is very clearly the floor, the metal floor of something, presumably a ship.
That's cool.
And then as it's passing along, you see like the heads of creatures below you that are sort of, you don't hear them, but you see the heads of creatures below you moving around. They are definitely Madokai. There are a lot of them. And they are suited for combat. In fact, they look very much like the Madokai that you left behind on the station. And you see many of them, and the floor continues to move and then eventually comes to a stop. And so you're just sort of looking down from your dimensional pocket at this thing, this floor with a bunch of these Madokai below you.
Well, I'm looking down at a floor right now. The ship has stopped at this point?
It seems like it, yeah.
What exactly do I see right below the hole right now?
So you see basically right below you 3 Madokai that seem to be talking to each other apparently about something. They have no helmets on. They are, but with uniforms though, carrying laser rifles. And then they are clearly on what looks like a metallic floor of what is obviously a ship of some kind. You don't know what floor or whatever, but you are definitely above them. Probably, I don't know, 5 feet, maybe 6, 7 feet at most above the heads of these creatures.
Okay. So,
and I'm coming back to you, Petra, in a second, so fear not.
Sorry, just 1 second. Look at my equipment list here. Okay. I'm going to take out my personal computer, which I have here. Just like a portable personal computer.
Okay.
And I'm going to type on it. Forgive me if I don't have all the notes and everything here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the following. Dear Zephyr, so our Madokai friend in there, he was part of Zephyr Corps, right?
I love
He
this.
was a mercenary working for Zephyr Corps.
Right. So, dear Zephyr Corps mercenaries, I am, a person who has information as to how you were betrayed by Zephyr Corps and the ways in which you might get your revenge. I will need safe passage back to my ship and guarantees of safety so that I and my friends can come back in recompense. I will be providing you with all the information you could need to exact a warrior's revenge on the way that you were betrayed. Please respond back and hold the computer screen up straight above your head to show whether you are in agreement. P.S. I'm going to need your bosses on this too. Sincerely, a friend. And stop. I guess, and
Now, one quick note before you go on. So I love everything about this. Just one quick note, though. They are not able to... They are not part of the dimensional space and cannot, like, reach up into it. You can reach something out of it and see below it yourself, but they can't... It's not their space.
Yeah. I'm going to drop the computer through.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, basically, like, this is why I was typing it out. This is why I was telling them to type on the computer.
Right,
like,
no, but when you said about putting it up above their heads, just be aware that...
Right, but if they pull it up like this, I
can see it. I see, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so, like, if they hold it up like this, I can read the screen of what they've got here.
Good
so,
times.
I'm basically, like, I'm bolding the part of, like, get your captain, here to agree to this.
Okay.
And then I'm going to drop my computer on one of their heads.
Okay. So you do this, and of course you're this silence, so you don't actually see it, but you see sort of them, and then fall, and then like you see them whip around, like look up, just sort of staring and blinking, like laser rifles flying around, and then you see everybody sort of like barking at each other, like there's a lot of movement, and then someone bends down to the computer and looks at it and is pointing at it. And as you can look, you see that the screen on the laptop is kind of flickering. So you don't totally know whether, what that means. But you can see that they start looking at it, and then they seem to be talking to each other. And they're staring up, and there seems to be some big argument going on where they're, the person who got hit in the head is pointing above and then pointing down at the computer, and then a bunch of others around them are sort of yelling at him, like waving their hands as if to say, "Lunatic, what are you doing?" This goes on for a little bit, and then finally, having read it, they sort of haltingly, one of them comes over and takes a look, and then they haltingly type out a couple things on the keyboard. And then they hold the screen sort of gingerly up, like they don't really seem to know where they're holding it, but they just kind of hold it somewhat above their heads. And you can see typed on it, it says, "Who you, no deal, come or kill." Spelled wrong and like,
Who you, no deal, come or kill. All right, I'm going to check to see if Kaz has a grenade.
Okay. Does Kaz have a grenade?
I do not have a grenade. I have, I will read you. I have 6 flares. I have a set of reinforced restraints. I have an energy shiv. And that's about it as far as things that are like a grenade.
Okay.
All right, so the person who's holding up the screen there, how close is it? Could I snatch my computer back?
Probably, yeah, because they're... Yes, I would say so.
I'm going to just snatch it right out of the air.
And they're kind of like, and there's like this big, and like people, gesticulating and pointing wildly at the space where, the computer just vanished.
Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do at this point is spook them. Like, since they're not cooperating, I'm trying to, like, freak them out and scare them with otherworldly things. And so I'm going to write so I'm going to clear all that off of the computer, and I'm going to write back, "Fools, you have no idea what powers you are dealing with here. You will cooperate, or else you will become my victims. Don't make me show you a display of my power."
Okay, this is like if the Etch-a-Sketch and Ouija board had a baby, and like. Okay, all right.
Drop it on the same guy's head.
Okay, and the guy again, like shields his head, is like now, and looks at it, and they sort of gesticulate and point at up there and point at each other, and there's now there's a lot of stuff. And so now you see at least 5 Matakai, all with laser rifles, all pointing it up directly at the space now where the thing dropped from, and it types in into this something, a couple of buttons, and says something, types a couple words, and then holds it up, and on the screen it says "Show self."
Is their ship still moving though?
No, ship is stopped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ship is stopped.
All right.
So is it high enough again that I could snatch it?
Yes, although at this point you can see they're kind of like almost
they're
like
kind of
waiting.
baiting it
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
like, yeah.
All right. I'm going to take one of Kaz's flares.
Oh, I thought you were about to say my foot or something.
No. I'm going to take one of Kaz's flares, light it up, and drop it down.
Okay. So there's
Let's
this
get that done.
there's this panic, right? They just sort of leap back a couple of shots, like one shot seems to fire, and then there's a bunch of again, all in silence, pantomiming, yelling, and stomping. Somebody comes over and deals the flare, and you see sort of waving about, and then you see there's sort of a moment where everyone is kind of panicking, and then as if some energy field suddenly dampened everyone. Everyone seems to settle down and get their movements get very still, and they all part. And this enormous red-scaled Matakai strides into view, and it is you can tell, a female Matakai. And she strides into view. She has red scales, but on the left side of her face, there is a huge scar where a lot of the scales seem to have been scored, basically, by something, possibly an energy weapon. And she stares up at the space where this is, and she points up at the space and then points down, So again, now she's clearly, obviously can't see you, but she knows wherever this is coming from. And she looks like no joke. Vibroblade on the back, 2 laser rifles at her belt, and everyone seems to be moved out of her way, out of respect.
So at this point, I'm going to look at my medikit here, and I'm going to take out some gauze, and using a writing utensil, I'm going to just write a little note. It's like, finally, someone I can actually talk to. My group here was unfortunately brought on the station at the same time that your Zephyr Corp team was attacked by all the creatures on here. We have information about how you were betrayed and ways in which you can get your revenge. I need my safety guaranteed upon your sacred honor as a Matakai. Please respond on the back of this gauze.
Okay. The toughest gauze of all time. And so you do this, and again, they all, the creatures around her sort of, and she looks down at this gauze and then kind of reads it and talks to a couple of others and then brings something over, and with what looks like essentially some kind of superheated, maybe laser torch, kind of burns into the other side of the gauze a message. And it says on the gauze, as she holds it up, "Will talk, won't kill, come down."
I'm going to tear off another piece of gauze and say, swear it upon your sacred honor as a warrior and a Matakai. Down.
And sort of looks and then impassively stares up, takes the gauze, holds it up, and it says, "Don't push it."
Well, we're not exactly in a hurry. We have minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes to go here.
And the other,
if
the
you
crew
give me
members are
about
all.
8 minutes, I'll be.
You're just about there, actually, Kaz. I would say, because it takes a little while to do this. So I'd say that you're about a minute away from being back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna keep up the correspondence here for a second. I just feel like at this point I'm gonna be like, we're gonna come down in a moment. We have somebody here who is wounded but getting better quickly. But I want you to know that we did everything we could to save the two Matakai that we encountered who were the last remaining members of your previous crew. Down it goes. And then I'm going to see if I can find his name.
I have it too.
So do I.
I am prepared.
I also have it.
Zephyr, it's like Suspecto. Shit, I'm sorry. I don't know if I wrote it down.
Excuse me. Oh, I could do. Hold on a second.
So I'm going to, if you'll forgive me for saying that, just like asking you to fill in the blanks, I'm going to say like, Matakai, his name, died like a warrior.
Ajax was his name, in case you're curious.
What was it? I'm sorry?
Ajax.
Ajax
Shataka was his name.
Ajax Shataka died like a warrior. It's the last of his crew fighting off hordes of attacking drones who had been sicked on him by the station's AI. And I dropped that down.
Okay.
And I watched for a reaction to see if like that affects him. Or...
So she kind of reads it and then looks up and just kind of folds her arms and waits. You don't get any read at all. Like she's just impassive. But clearly she read it.
Okay, she read it, is impassive. All right, well, I'm just kind of like looking, watching for Kaz to light up again.
And he's back. Yeah, he's back at this point, I would say. Again, I promise I'm going to Petra in just a second. I promise, Kat.
So I quickly catch him up, and I say, like, basically, this is our only ticket out of here. I'm trying to explain to them that we, battled alongside the Matakai there at the end, that we saw their people get, killed by Zephyr Core and that they were betrayed. Mm-hmm. I've tried to set it up. That lady is kind of scary. I'm not getting a real good read off her. What do you think?
I think we can, if their ship is stopped on top of my dimensional pocket, I don't think I can do anything I don't think it's the best shot that we have. So, and if it helps, I can make myself look like, Ajax. I don't want to do it to fool them, but maybe to show them that we actually knew who he was.
I'll write them a note. I'll explain everything. Don't worry. I'm getting good at this.
Yeah, I'm okay with coming out just as myself, because I don't want to come out and then be like, hey, I'm a Matakai, but I'm not. Like I'd be able, but right. I'll let you.
We're gonna so what I do is I write a note like, as a sign of goodwill and evidence of our story, we are going to have a crew member come out in the appearance of Matakai. It's a special power that he has with his Esper. So he will be doing this only as a sign of respect and deference for one of your fallen warriors. Love.
All best.
Yeah.
Wait,
yours in haste.
As I'm looking over Sleepwell's shoulder as he's writing this, and if Kaz had eyebrows, they would be extremely furrowed. And as Sleepwell writes the word love, I
cross it out. I'm like, all best. Cross it out.
Like Kaz grabs Sleepwell's shoulder and says, "Hold on, let's just talk to them. Let's just talk to them. Maybe not the. I'll alter my appearance after. I don't want to come out as the Matakai. I think that might actually offend them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let's ask them first. If they need the verification, I'll do it. But otherwise, let's just talk. I think.
Right. Okay. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first. You've been talking to them.
All right.
Please.
So I'm going to just stick my little cat head out of the portal and going to be like, okay, guys, don't shoot. And I'm going to just kind of like look around.
Okay.
Very Cheshire-like here,
Right. So you do that, and when you do that, you see sort of you are surrounded by, first of all, you were on what is very clearly the bridge of a military ship, and you are surrounded by at least 20 Matakai with laser rifles trained directly at your head. And standing in the middle, right underneath you, is the still impassive red-scaled Matakai who's looking up at you. And you can see one of her scaled eyebrows, rises just slightly, and she says, "Are you more than a head?"
Oh yeah. Got a full Valna body, very very nice body. Would like to keep it intact. We've got a couple of other people up here too. Just want to tell you that we saw everything, and your people were treated disgracefully. We are here in the spirit of full disclosure to let you know exactly what happened. I'm going to descend now. Please move slightly to your right or left if you prefer, so that I do not have to fall upon you.
And so she sidesteps slowly, never taking her eyes off of you.
And so I gracefully, cat-like, tumble out of the hole and land perfectly on my feet right in front of her.
Okay. And she sort of stands down looking at you. Kaz, are you going next, or are you just waiting to see what happens? Because you can't hear anything, remember? So you just see sleep well now.
I'm going to... That's a shame that this is not working the way I want it to. Let's see. I want to hunter's mark her, but I'm trying to make sure that if I hunter's mark someone, if they are aware of it or not.
Also, you can't do it. Powers can't cross through the entrance into or out of the extra dimensional space.
You are right. Let me still find that, though.
Which is convenient because otherwise this would be a lot more OP than a rank 2 metaphase talent.
Yeah.
I can just mark things, shoot things. I'm in the here.
There it is.
It's a one-way. It's like a one-way mirror. Like the whole thing is Law and Order, like interrogation room.
Actually, it's. I mean, it still might not work, but it's the reason why it wasn't showing up in my thing is because it's a hunter feature. It's not an Esper power. I can use a bonus action to scan a creature and mark it for pursuit and subdual. Choose a creature within 90 feet that I can see. In addition, I have advantage on wisdom and perception and survival checks to find them regardless of their type. But anyway,
I think I'm going to rule against this. I think the dimensional space is a little bit of a different animal.
Are they? Would I know if people become aware when I mark them in this way in general?
I don't necessarily know that they would know that you marked them. I think it would depend on the circumstances. Certainly in combat, they wouldn't necessarily know unless you were like, pointing directly at the you are my mark.
Yes.
But she's obviously focused right now on Sleepwell.
Okay.
So yeah.
Then what I'll do is I'll exit out of the dimensional space, and I will, as I'm exiting out, and kind of like, I imagine I pop out of the pocket and then kind of fall into a kneel on the floor. And as I'm standing up, I'm also going to scan her and hunter's mark her.
Okay, cute. So you do that, and of course, so this Bellare, just the suit falls, and then you just like Predator style stand up.
Yep.
And they're just like, so they take several steps back, and you hear the very distinctive, both you and Sleepwell hear the very distinctive sound of, which is the sound of energy rifles powering up as, not to be fire, but I mean they're all basically the triggers the safeties have all been taken off as the rifles are on you, and that's a good moment for us to jump over to Petra. Because Petra, meanwhile, in the other ship, you have now been sitting here for probably about 15-20 minutes, floating in space, drifting slowly, as Spindra is relaying sort of information to you. And Spindra says, they were just moving towards the debris, and then all of a sudden they stopped. They've just been frozen in space now for 15-20 minutes.
There's no chance they saw me and my Las Vegas blinking sign.
Not with a big old radioactive splash plus a warship coming, getting between you and them.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I say, how odd. Whatever could have caught their attention. Made them. I say perhaps they've discovered something among the debris that's of value, and they're looking at it. Can we see if they've put anybody out into space to explore? I mean, can we see what they're doing? Are they scanning? Can we get any information?
So if you want to do that, other than visual, I will allow you to make a perception check. You're going to be doing it at disadvantage because there's a lot of light and debris and, you know, a whole mess of things. I'll let you make a perception at disadvantage for that. And there's no real downside. It's just you wouldn't see anything if you get it wrong. Beyond that, if you want to use sensors, that could have consequences, but I'll talk about that after you do this.
I will roll a perception check.
Okay.
Does a natural 20 hit?
That's the part where I say disadvantage. So you
Oh,
can
no.
roll that
Oh,
again.
yeah.
Oh, no.
Would have been awesome.
But natural 20 again.
Yeah, exactly. But here comes the second natural 20.
Oh, God. Okay. I'm gonna hit return anyway. I just don't want to. All right.
Okay.
all right,
That's not the worst.
Wah.
Yeah, you don't see anything in particular. The ship, I mean, for one thing, the ship is definitely, you know, not moving. The view screens themselves are kind of pivoting because the hyperlance itself is drifting. So to kind of keep the ship in view, the camera keeps kind of shifting, and so your angle basically that you're looking at. So, but it's, you know, it's sort of moving, but not, you know, your ship is moving, but the ship you're looking at doesn't seem to be. And Spindra says, "That is a big ship. That's got to be a Metakai warship, Petra."
I agree. I think we should get out of here as quietly and unperceptibly as we can. So can we keep drifting away silently?
And
Can we nudge our drift just a little?
she says, "Well, we can keep drifting, but if we try to move it or maneuver at all, it's going to show up. We can try to get the hell out of here. Maybe we'll catch them off guard. We might be faster than a warship in the hyperlance. But I don't know what the engine shape is like after going through what we just went through. We can try it. It'll be risky."
Let's check the engine in first and see whether it'll work. But I'm in favor of a quick jump away if we can do it.
And she nods and she says, "All right." And she calls down and she says, "All right, what's the word about the engines?" And you hear sort of this high-pitched voice, "Boss, we the engines seem to be not quite right." And Spindra says, "What do you mean not quite right?" "Well, I don't, it keeps like winking on and off." And she sort of stops and she stares at you for a second, Petra, and she's like, "What do you mean winking?" "Well, it's there and then it's not there." And she stares at you and she says, "That doesn't sound good."
No. I'm going to go down and look at the engine myself.
Okay. You go down, and when you get to the engine, you can see that there's a few people giving it respectful distance, members of the crew, that are sort of pointing at it and talking to each other. And indeed, when you get down to the engine, and let me just move us over to our good friend, the Hyperlance. When you get over to the engine, you can see that indeed it seems to be, it's sort of like erratically pulsating. And it's sort of the blue, sometimes full power, sometimes it seems to go almost, and it's almost like you're looking at a flame, you know, like an ember of a fire that's kind of flickering, or a spark that's flickering and then going close to out and then flickering again. And as you're sort of staring at this thing kind of up and down, it says, one of the crew says, "It's been doing that ever since the explosion. I get all these weird readings." And she points, the person points over at one of the screen readouts, and as you look over at it, assuming you do look over at it, it's like you're looking at a heartbeat monitor, like the energy keeps spiking up and then back down and up and back down. And she says, "I don't know what any of this means. I've never seen an engine like this before, but if I were... Well, I remember working on a freighter back in the day before I got to Palseros, and whenever there was an energy spike like this in the engine, it's because the containment field was failing. Now, with a freighter, containment fields fail all the time. It's not a big deal. I don't know what it means when a containment field fails on this.
The containment field around the engine or the containment field around something else?
Around the engine. It's like somehow it's like not quite in its own space anymore. It's getting, I don't know, on and off disconnected somehow.
Is it doing this any faster at a different rate than when it first started, or does it seem about the same rate?
No, it all seems about the same, but there's no pattern to it, no rhythm. And as you look, you can see it does look like, that type of thing.
I'm
Without sound, I shouldn't overdo it, but
I'm going to go over to the engine panel and use my machine sense that I have no idea what it does to somehow mind merge with the engine and figure out what's going on.
wow, that was a lot of
Wow.
awesome stuff all at
Okay.
once. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to
Petra's
Vulcan
like,
mind
well, of
meld
course.
with the thing with the stuff, and I'm like, sure.
Can't fix the engine. I'll become the engine.
Absolutely. I am become destroyer of worlds. No, of course what Petra is referring to here is, so you were going to go over, I would like you to make, please, an insight check into this. So I'm going to ask you to make an insight check. And this I'm going to ask you to do, you'll be happy to know, at advantage as opposed to disadvantage.
Okay, so first one is a 14.
Okay. And second one?
Is a 9.
Okay, so with a 14, so you reach out, the couple of the crew members around kind of look at you curiously. You reach out and you sort of try to, let your mind drift into it. And there's sort of a moment of silence, and then you hear, Petra. Is that you, Petra?
It's me. It is me.
I feel strange. It sounds like the same voice, by the way, that you heard before with this thing.
I say, you seem to be in two places at once.
Yes, I am here and not here. But this... And just sort of, seems to stutter a bit.
Can you be here? Can you stop being there and just be here?
It's lonely here.
Hmm.
It's not lonely there. Petra, there's someone there.
I'm here. I'm here and I need you here.
And there's sort of a pause, and then you hear, she says that you're dangerous, Petra.
I'm not the one asking you to choose between two people, but I'm telling you that I need you here.
Make a persuasion check for me, please, Petra. Do it at +2.
Okay. Does charisma factor into
Yes,
that?
absolutely it does.
Well, that's cool because I have +3 on charisma.
This is what happens when Captain Janeway gets a hold of this.
A 15? Am I rolling at advantage, or do you want me to
No.
roll again?
Just the +3. Oh, actually, sorry, +3, +2, actually, because I gave you that +2.
So that's 17.
So 17. So there is a moment's pause, and then, all right, Petra, I'll trust you. And she sort of, you hear the voice get a little louder, and then there is what feels like a breath on your face, as if something is right next to you. And then the engines vroom, and they stabilize. And they're all sort of like the crew, oh, and they're all sort of staring at each other and kind of talking. And you have a strange experience, Petra, of feeling visibly, you're aware of them, you're aware of them sort of saying, but it's as if they're talking on the other side of a waterfall. Like your consciousness kind of senses them, but you're really someplace else. And there is this breath, as I mentioned, as if something is right next to you. And then you hear, I'm here, Petra. But the other one doesn't trust you,
I will say, I know. And then I'll turn to the crew and say, we should get the engines going while they're working.
And the crew sort of, they sort of stare at you slack-jawed, and then they like immediately like spring to it and like go start running around and like making adjustments and stuff. And distantly through sort of the waterfall sense you get again, coming through comms, Petra, any luck down there?
Yes, I've got the engines working. We're ready to move.
She says, all right, okay, I'm trying to get the comms up here. Someone has been trying to break through. I think it might be Abraxas, but I can't tell. Just see what you can do to kind of keep them together. Where am I going when I get this thing moving?
Pelseros, I guess. That's a direction.
And she says, all right, I'll see what I can do. And you hear, Petra, will you stay with me so I won't be alone?
Say yes. Yes, I will.
And then she says, good. Because I love you. Now I want to cut back to Sleepwell and Kaz. So, Sleepwell and Kaz, you in the meantime are on the bridge of the Matakai ship, surrounded by a bunch of laser rifles. And the one in the middle, the red-scaled one, who, again, is larger than the others, as I mentioned, sort of has her arms folded. And while the other ones took a step back, and upon Kaz's appearance, she did not, and she sort of stares at you and says, "So, we've got a Volna and a Ballare. Any other surprises up there? Perhaps some Kesh, or a couple of humans, maybe a few Prometheans, just for laughs."
We do have more people up there that we want to keep safe for now. We'll bring them down as soon as we can establish their safety.
And she nods and says, "I won't kill them if you bring them down. If you don't bring them down, when I see them, then we'll kill them."
Okay, and on that then, I because they can't hear us.
I see this coming.
Yeah, I look up at the dimensional pocket, and I just kind of like, I hold up my hand like this, and I just go, and then I dispel it.
And 4 people hit the ground. And Alfred, yes. Now, the 4 guys hit the ground. Alfred hits the ground, and as Alfred hits the ground, now this one, she sort of does jump out of the way, and so when Alfred hits the ground, there's a huge, and all of a sudden, there are just like, so there were already 20 of them, as I already mentioned. There are now laser rifles anywhere. They are all right up to all of your faces, these laser rifles, and she is staring down wide-eyed at the appearance of Alfred. And she looks at it for a while. The 4 crew members are sort of like, trying to back away, and they immediately have laser rifles pointed at them too. But clearly, like, that's not the thing that's interesting. The red-scaled, Matakai in the middle. She is just sort of staring down at this thing, and then she slowly kneels down and kind of looks at it and just puts a hand to the side of one of Alfred's blades and then pulls it back and stands up and says, I hadn't thought about the possibility of a droid, or at least something they were working on here, I suppose.
Another victim.
And she nods. Where I come from, we don't have victims, we have clients. I think you have some things to explain. In the meantime, while you're explaining them, I won't kill you for now. If you lie, then we'll kill you.
Just no need to lie. We saw everything that happened.
And she nods. She says, bring them. And she turns and walks away. And so they sort of stop, and then they come around behind you. So you guys are being pushed, not like shoved, but like inexorably recommended that you go in the direction that she's
Right.
that she's
But
going.
I'm being solicitous about Alfred. I say, pick him up gently. You know, he's heavy, but he won't hurt anybody right now. Just bring him with us.
And so the Matakai do this, but you do notice that the Matakai, and it only takes 2 of them. These are strong, but you notice that they're kind of a little bit like, it's like holding a bug, like by a wing or something. Like you're just sort of like gently kind of holding it by the, as they move along. And you were brought onto the bridge of the ship. Now, the bridge of the Hyperlance, you've been on many bridges in your time, Sleepwell, and you too, Kaz. The bridge of the Hyperlance is sort of high-tech and, all that sort of thing. The bridge of something else, like the Tangerel, would have looked more like a smuggler's bridge. This thing looks like it was pulled out of central casting for Spartan, the space story. Like, the whole thing is set up with these angular chairs. Everything looks extremely uncomfortable. All of the controls look like, you feel like the controls are so sharply cut out of metal, it looks like they almost might get cut just holding on to them, is what it sort of looks like. Like it is, and it's all like steel and, basically steel, dark steel and light steel, and that's it. There's no decorations or anything of any kind here, and a few view screens up front. And as you walk in, 2 Matakai turn and salute as they see the red-scaled one pass through. And the red-scaled one walks over to the command chair, which is currently empty. And next to it, there is a green-scaled Matakai, a little smaller than her. And she says, what's the word, Kratos? And Kratos looks up and says, not much, Commander Layden. There's not much here. Whatever it was, it blew up. When we read that explosion, must have been the station. And she sort of nods slowly, and then, no sign of the previous shuttle? And he just shakes his head, the other Matakai does. And she sort of, you can see her shoulders kind of go up a little bit and then down. Whether it's a shrug or a slump is not 100% clear. And then she turns and she says, this is Kratos, my first lieutenant. He and I have some questions that we're going to ask of you. Kratos, these ones popped in. And she kind of looks like, raises an eyebrow and looks at you, Sleepwell. And she says, some kind of Esper trick, I would assume. But it's above my pay grade. And Kratos kind of nods and he says, and who are you? He says, he's almost like trying to figure out what to say. And then he says, who are you? He says to you, Sleepwell and Kaz, either one of you.
My name is Ludiku Sleepwell. The people on the station have done monstrous things to my father so that he's not even recognizable as my father anymore. This is Cosmoritis. Cos, introduce yourself.
I am Cosmoritis, or Cosmoritus, depending on what side of the galaxy you're from. This is our crew, and
the crew, which is currently shivering, like.
This is our friend here, who we'll call Bob for now. I give Sleepwell a look. So your previous detachment and us were not related until we met at this station that you have just come looking for. And I think Sleepwell mentioned it, but one of the Matakai members of your previous shuttle was one Ajarax Shataka.
And when you say that name, they both look at each other, sort of like Kratos and this other one, the red scaled one. Sorry, Layden. They did say her name.
Mm-hmm.
So Layden and Kratos look at each other.
When we arrived, they were fighting off droids that had been empowered on the station to kill them. And we helped them defeat the droids. I believe Ajarax was the only survivor at the end of that confrontation. None of the other Matakai had made it. Ajarax explained the situation to us and told us that you would be arriving. But we both had sort of the same goal: get into the station and resolve it as the grim situation it was. Our only goal right now is we were going on that ship to rescue one of our own, and now we are just trying to get out and leave. And Ajarax, as a part of getting out of the station and destroying the AI that was controlling the droids that was attacking all of us, we resolved that we needed to destroy the station and blow it up. And so Ajarax held himself in the engineering room so that we could make our way to the bridge, set the station on a crash course, and when we went back to go see if he was there, there was no response. The door was locked. He told us that if there was a way for him to go out, he would want it to be defending the honor of those that he had fought for and those that had fought for him. And then we are now here. And all we're asking for is to just be dropped off at the nearest station. Our ship may be nearby, but I'm not sure. They may have left.
And so there's a moment's pause, and then Kratos says, "So you had a ship with you. It might be nearby?"
Yes, but I'd be interested to know what your intentions are before we lay our lives entirely in your hands.
And Layden says, "No doubt you would, but since your lives already are entirely in our hands, I think I'll keep that information to myself." And she barks out a couple of orders in a language you don't recognize, and a couple of soldiers sort of spring to action. You can see them doing some stuff through some sensors, and you can see the view screens start to kind of shift as if there's something kind of moving around. I'm going to put that on pause for a second. Petra, meanwhile, back on the Hyperlance, you still in contact, of course, with the ship. You hear again through the sort of waterfall Spindra saying, "Well, something's happened. They're scanning us. Or scanning for us."
There's a difference between scanning us and scanning for us. Which of the two is it?
That's a good question. I wish I knew myself. And the ship says to you, "I can feel the beams. They are scanning for us."
Can you hide?
And she says, "I can try." And so there's a pause, and then after a moment, sorry, getting sound out of one part of my headphones is bothering me. Test 1 2 2. Okay, good. She says there's just sort of a moment that passes, and then you hear the sort of thrumming of the engine sort of drop a note, and you sort of see a few are vaguely aware of a few of the crew sort of talking to each other and gesticulating and pointing at screens and things like that. And Meanwhile, back over on the Matakai ship, there are a couple of commands that you hear get barked back towards you, Kaz and Sleepwell, or back towards in the direction of Layden and Kratos. And Kratos turns after hearing this and looks at Layden, and then Layden looks back at you and says, apparently there was something out there, and now there's not. If you have the ability to communicate with them, I think it's time you told us what exactly you've been letting them know all this time. If your ship's cloaked, we'll find it.
We haven't been telling them anything.
And she kind of, her eyes slightly narrow as she's kind of reading you up and down. It's almost like she's staring through you, Kaz, as much as at you.
Pretty easy to do when you're a Bellari.
Yep.
So engineering wise, just like in terms of like the state of the technology, they can see what we have on. What kind of equipment would we normally need to be able to speak to another ship just wearing what we have, given their shielding and the distance between us and everything? Like, is it a likely thing that we'd be able to communicate with them, or pretty unlikely from a strictly engineering standpoint?
It would probably be fairly unlikely, although, you know, you just dropped out of space, right? So they're, from their point of view, you know, I mean, like, you may be capable of quite a bit. I mean, it occurs to you. You may have established yourself as a kind of a not your average bear, you know, when it comes to this stuff.
Right.
From an engineering point of view, it's certainly not impossible that you could communicate with them through the power of comms, although it will be difficult with radioactive, you know, interference and across space and through the hull. And yeah, it'd be pretty like rough engineering feat to pull it off.
Yeah, so I basically say as much. It's like, look, you see us here. We basically don't have any heavy communications equipment that we're carrying around. We can't crack through this radiation field that we're inside of, not to mention your own hull and your own shieldings. You know that we're not communicating with them. There's no deception going on here. And whatever is out there, it has nothing to do with us telling you any untruths. We're just giving you absolutely true information about what happened.
And she kind of nods slowly and looks you up and down again and says, all right, let's hit this on the head. You say you came to this station. You entered the station. Did you mention the long winter yet, Kaz?
The only thing I said was at one point, we realized in order to defeat the AI that was sending the droids after us. That's all I said.
So, and then she says, and then you dealt with this AI. What exactly was this AI doing? Why did you feel the need to defeat it? So much so that you had to blow up an entire station. And that's not either one of you, either Slipper or Kaz.
Oh, we had no choice. It was kill or be killed. We were under complete attack. You know, your whole Mordecai team had the same response that we did. We were all fighting for our lives, and we simply were the fortunate ones at the end of the day.
And she folds her arms again and she says, don't take this the wrong way, but knowing Ajax the way I do, I find it a little hard to believe that you survived and he didn't, unless you had more spaces you could jump into when you got in trouble.
I mean, you saw it yourself. We could hide very, very well.
And she points down at Alfred and she says, did you hide him?
He literally fell out of the sky like 2 minutes ago.
I should say it. And she kind of looks you up and down and she says,
well, I can give you more information here to alleviate.
Her gaze shifts to you without saying anything.
Well, as I said, we arrived at the station for different reasons. They were there before we were. And when we arrived, we came to the sound of fighting. Ajax, we arrived into a fight between the Matakai and these droids, at the end of which was Ajax the only survivor of his crew. And then there was a few minutes where we and him corresponded and discussed. He was the only survivor in that initial fight. And then, as I said, in order to get rid of this AI that was sending these droids after us, Ajax agreed that when we left the room, inevitably more droids would show up, so he would serve as a distraction in the engineering room and in part sacrifice himself so that we could get this done.
And she pauses for a bit and then, if Ajax said he would work with you, then you ought to be able to prove that he'd do so. He would have given you something, some sign, some token, something.
He did give us something.
There was one session when we initially arrived at the station. Zach was not there. The first session I was on the station was in the room discussing with him. So I'm not sure if he gave us stuff before that, but I don't remember him giving us anything.
No, he did. It was. I'm just sorry. I don't have the right sheet of paper today with people's names and stuff. But he did give us like a token of some kind.
Do you, Carlos, or Petra, or Sleepwell or Petra, do you guys remember if it was right that session where you guys had first arrived, or if it was the session where we talked and we were talking about engineering and then he was like, okay, I'll stay in engineering, and we left?
It was the session in which we actually had the battle. It was right at
the I wasn't there, so I don't know.
So they gave you, I'm pretty sure what they gave you is a sword, basically this grand blade that they had. I'm pretty sure that's what they gave you. And the person I'm trying to remember who ended up getting it is the thing. Because if it went to Petra or to Aramis, then that's not going to help you.
Yeah, I think it went to Aramis, but we could at least speak of the sword.
Okay.
So, and I'm so sorry. The sword had a name?
No, did not have a name. Just,
okay.
No.
Oh, you mean the sword? I say.
What sword exactly?
So,
let's see.
After the battle, I think as an exchange of honor, he gave one of our compatriots the sword that he was carrying, so that he could go off into battle with it. And I think, he was doing that as a sign of friendship. That compatriot didn't make it out with us, so we don't have that sword, but we did see the exchange.
I will cast the spell, or I'll say to them first, here, I can make myself appear as he did, and I think I can recreate what the sword looked like. And then I will cast Alter Appearance on myself.
Okay.
And it says, I bend particles in the visible spectrum to make myself, including my clothing, armor, gear, and other belongings. So I guess that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to turn something that I'm already carrying into something that looks like the sword, then I'll make my energy shiv look like the sword or something. And I'll make myself look like Ajax.
So you do that, and when you do, the Matakai around like mutter and kind of like look kind of you. Some of them look balefully, some fearfully, a few others, and then Kratos says, "Don't do that. It's condemning his memory." And Leyden holds up a hand, and she says, "His memory was condemned when he died for nothing, Kratos. This is just an echo of what he was." And she kind of looks you up and down, and
I pull out the shiv and I hold out the sword.
And she looks at the sword. There's kind of a as like among the Matakai, and then she kind of leans in, and she, for all the world, looks like she's sniffing it, and then she backs up and looks at you and nods once, and she says, "So you've seen him?"
And I dispel Alter Appearance.
And she says, "I believe that you've seen him. That means either that he gave you his help, or that you killed him and took what he held. Now I want to know why I should believe it was the first and not the second.
Occam's razor? Do you think we look like the kind of people that could have killed him?
And she stops and she says, I don't know. If I judged everything based on how people looked, I wouldn't still be alive. There's strange things in the universe, and Esper powers can do a lot.
Just a few minutes ago, you had trouble believing that we could have escaped and he didn't. Well, use that same logic now. We didn't attack him. We simply helped him when he was in need, and he helped us by holding the line while we, secured the rest of the station. And by secured, I mean destroyed it, utterly.
And she nods as she sort of walks around you slowly, and she says, I believe that a few minutes ago, Sleepwell, before your companion here worked some power to turn himself into a version of Ajax and his sword. I am quite impressed with the powers that you now clearly possess. And I will tell you something else. And she gets close and she bends way over Sleepwell, and you can feel like just, like the breath kind of and she says,
flies back.
And she says, I would personally want to know what happened to him, because Ajax was my mate. And so there's a sort of, and everyone gets real quiet. Like all the murmuring stops, and Kratos sort of folds his arms and looks, and she still has her head, within a few inches of yours, and she says, I can smell a lie from a parsec distant, but I'm also smart enough to know that I could be fooled. So I'm going to ask you to talk carefully and slowly. You say that you are working together with him. He was a mercenary, like me. He worked for money, like me. He would only give you that sword if you had done something worthy of it. Other than fighting next to him, what made you worthy of getting his blade? What makes you worthy of me not killing you now where you stand? Now, the way she says this, Sleepwell and Kaz, sounds like someone who is going through, groceries, Like, it's not, why should I do this? You will pay the ultimate price. It's sort of like, or I will kill you and then go get some eggs,
Right.
So,
I basically, look her in the eye and said, I saved his life. He was dying at the sight of those robots, and I healed him. I'm a healer. All I need is a little rest and a little time to rejuvenate, and I can heal you too. I'm a healer. That is my Esper gift and my vocation. It was an honor to be able to sustain your mate in the heat of battle, where he otherwise would have fallen to enemies. That he died later, I grieve. But in the moment, I saved him, and that qualified, in his eyes, I guess, for the gift of his sacred sword.
He didn't know that we were coming, and I think that may have added to the resonance of us fighting with him, because by his estimation, he had brought his crew in. These droids were swarming them for what had simply just, I suppose they were told, would be a clean up and check up on the station mission. And by all means, he was one of the last ones left when we arrived and helped him survive. And he helped us survive in turn. But he didn't know we were going to be there. And we didn't know who he was, but we trusted him. And he trusted us. And you have nothing but our word. And if it gives you a certain satisfaction to kill us here as a remembrance for him, in the case that we are lying to you, then I will not stop you from doing so.
I
But
will
hope-
stop her from doing so.
Well, I I don't think we have much of a choice, Sleepwell. In the condition that I'm in, I don't. But
Sleepwell, you baffled at this moment.
So
I
she
only hope that you'll take our words as we give them to you.
and she kind
You
of
said you could smell a lie. Smell away.
okay. I would like Kaz to make a persuasion check for me, please.
Oh goodness.
Am I assisting?
Yeah,
on
can
this,
I
or-
get
I'm not going to say that. I would say that your effect on this is neutral, Sleepwell. There's things that you said that she approved of, and things that you said that pissed her off. I'm going to say that this is basically neutral.
Okay.
And so, chat, I will remind everyone that it's that time of month, and inspirations are a thing. If you haven't already done so, and you have an inspiration available to you, you might inspire if you wish Kaz to persuade
Man.
Layden, this
Dang it.
Matakai warlord, of
And-
their good intentions.
Yeah, and I'm also excited for when we get a long rest too, because there's some of like if I had chosen Matakai as my studied my studied quarry, then I
Right.
could have had advantage on this.
I have that.
But-
Look at Nonstop with the inspiration of Kaz.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Covet is saving yours for the next time Kaz is at death's door. Everyone's like, look, all right, like we know what happens here. Like, you should. I think I told you right that I think it was the Adventures of Middle Earth crew. It was either them or it was no. I think it was actually Curse Estrad, and they were kind of like, what the hell was this with the Esper Genesis people doing? Like they were just kind of like it was a long story.
Where's our inspiration?
They were really
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so thank you, Nonstop, as
Okay,
always,
thank you,
Johnny
Nonstop.
Nonstop. You're
Thanks, dude.
keeping me nonstop.
He is indeed nonstop. Yeah, and thank you, by the way, for the earlier 26-month sub. I did tell you that in text, but thank you again, nonstop. All right, so you were inspired. You can use that if you wish
Awesome.
on this persuasion.
Okay. That's good because my persuasion is only a +1. Still, that happens every time, but a 13.
13 or 12.
Yeah.
So she leans back very slowly, and she says, I don't know whether to believe you, but I do know that your story at least partially checks out. We were sent to clean up, and my impression was there was something pretty serious to be doing the cleaning up. And so I think, she kind of stops slowly and says, it'll depend on what our employer says. And she looks down at Kratos, and Kratos looks like he kind of opens his mouth like he's about to say, like, what the, and she kind of just shakes her head, and Kratos closes his mouth again, and he looks, if you can read Matakai expressions, he looks pretty annoyed. And he turns and he gestures to one of the other Matakai at one of the screens, and they nod, and they do a couple things on the screen that you can't quite pick up, and then, we're about to confirm, Layden says, your story for ourselves. And then on the screen, you see this silhouetted figure, and you hear a familiar voice that says, yes? What can I do for you, Layden? And Layden sort of pauses and says, I need you to check a story for me, Angel. Now, while you were pausing there, I'm going to jump back over to the Hyperlance. Petra, you are still sort of sitting on the ship where the engines have sort of thrummed and kind of throttled down a little bit. And Spindra, almost whispering over the comms, says, I think it's gone totally silent. This is wild. I've never seen anything like this. Even the Tangerel couldn't have been this quiet. And then you hear, kind of breaking through your comms, a anybody, And Petra, this is most definitely the voice of Abraxas. I swear to God, Fox. And then it starts to clear up a little bit. All right, that I should be through. Anyone on these comms?
We answer him. Are they going to hear us?
Probably not. I mean, if they're hearing him, they've already heard him. So your answering back isn't going to make a difference.
Then we're going to answer back.
Okay. So Spindra kind of says, what do we say?
Tell him the station is gone.
And he says, I heard you. What do you mean Petra's gone? You destroyed it?
It was destroyed. I don't know that I would say we destroyed it, but yes, it's gone. It's destroyed.
And there's a deep, thank all the gods. Good. You did the right thing. Couldn't have been easy to do that, I know. Did everyone make it okay?
No, we lost several good people in the process.
Oh, who did we lose? Who did you lose?
I will sigh deeply and run through the litany of our dead, including our sad, the fact that Kaz and Sleepwell are gone.
Yep. And so he hears that, and you sort of hear this kind of, frill all of it. I'm so damned sick of this job. And sick of these people. And he says, well, anyway, you did the right thing, and maybe now we've got a chance. This is going to be a blow that Zephyr Corp isn't going to forget. I think the best thing might be for you to head back this way. Once you get back to Pelsaros, I can repair you proper. Make sure that we do what's necessary. And whatever you do, make sure that you keep quiet from Arisa if she tries to contact you again. You can't trust her, I told you.
I make a non-committal noise.
And he says, is the ship functional enough to get back here?
Probably.
And he says, I could try to send out a couple of drones to recover it if you wish. It would take a few days, solar days, to get there, but they would be able to at least tow or perhaps do a little bit of early repair on the engines.
No, we'll make it. We'll be there soon.
All right. Make sure you try to keep yourselves as silent as possible, and I'll see if I can keep poking around. Arisa went dead a while ago, and that worries me. I don't trust that anything happened to her. It's more likely it's another one of her tricks. Anyway, keep your head on a swivel, and good work. I'm sorry about Kaz and Sleepwell.
We'll sign off, and I'll roll my eyes briefly and check on Aramis, who I'm sure is drinking somewhere in a corner.
Yes, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, and he is indeed drinking someplace. What's up, Genly? And he is sitting there drinking, and I imagine seems to be kind of quiet, contemplative, thoughtful, maybe considering his place in life, and his life choices that have led him to this moment, perhaps. And as he's doing that, you hear, "Are you there, love?"
I'm here. I am.
I'm glad. I didn't want you to leave. I still hear the whispering on the other side.
Who's whispering from the other side?
It's an angry voice. It rages. It says you cannot be trusted. It says anger much anger.
I
Like
say,
waves beating against the rocks.
don't listen to it. When it's angry, voices say things that they don't mean sometimes. Don't listen to it.
It says you killed her.
I don't know who it is.
And there's silence, and then it wants me to tell her your name.
Who's her?
Her name is Winter.
Ah, don't talk to her. She's just going to lead you astray.
When we start going again, I'll stay here with you.
And I will stay here with you.
I've always wanted to be here with you since the beginning.
Since the beginning. And I'll just repeat that as I think in horror that I have no idea what I'm getting in myself in.
Now, on a practical level, are you what exactly are you trying to do at this point? With like, are you going to keep drifting? Because I know you had said originally you were thinking about drifting. The ship is apparently completely silent at the moment. Do you want the ship to start moving again? It could do so, but it will sort of, despite its silence, notify those in the area if they're sensing for it.
What I want to do is basically I'm going to confer with Spindra, and I want us, as soon as we start up, my feeling is that as soon as we start moving, they're going to know we're moving. So I want us to start moving and move as fast as possible.
Okay.
So the minute we start moving, I want us to just boom out of here and head to Elsaros.
Okay, and Spindra says that she thinks it's possible to do it. Although she also tells you that a Matakai warship is a formidable thing, not the fastest thing in the world, but the Matakai are well known for being relentless. And especially if they were some kind of like wet work team that was basically working for Zephyr Corps, that they would probably not give up on the pursuit. But she's willing to chance whatever you want her to do.
Well, they can join the flippin' list then, because they're not going to be on the top of it. So yes, as soon as we can move, we move.
And she says, all right, I think we've got the engines in good place. I could make the ship go, but you seem to be having an effect on... And she pauses. Her?
You think she's going to move faster if I flip the switch? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's about flipping the switch. I think it's about you talking to her. This is what the Hyperlance, I think, was designed to do. Maybe this is what they meant. Something this fast, this responsive, it's not... And she kind of trails off. I've worked with ships all my life, Petra. This isn't just a ship.
No, she's not. Nice, very well, and I will do whatever needs to be done to get ready to launch us as quickly and speedily in towards Spellsparrows.
And there's a moment's pause, and then the ship sort of levels out, and you hear, "Hold on, my love." And then the ship bolts. Now, Petra, you have been on the ship before when the ship was kind of sort of semi-working. Aramis was kind of trying to handle it, blah, 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 blah. This ship moves at a speed and a grace that you had not thought was possible. It cuts through like a sword through wind as it just zips through space. And so fast that over on the Madakai ship, there's a huh! And one of them immediately barks some orders back, and Kratos, rah, listen, I'm a gun, and like says something back to it clearly in Madakai. And by the way, nobody speaks Madakai, do they?
No.
Okay,
Or-
I wanted to make sure. But pretty obviously it's, and then Layden says, well, Angel, this other ship just took off. Top speed. I've never seen anything go that fast. And the voice of Angel says, not surprising, I suppose. Go after them. You won't catch them, but we can take a guess where they're going. And Layden says, as you'll have it. And barks a couple of orders, and then you feel below you, Sleepwell and Kaz, the Madakai warship turning, a little bit lumbering maybe, to follow after this other ship that suddenly took off in this incredibly fast, graceful way. And Angel's voice says, so, it's good to see that you've made it here alive. Sleep well, and Kaz. I was worried that no one was going to survive it, but you've done a great thing. In fact, it was what Layden and her people would have done, but you saved us the trouble, and you've done the galaxy a great service.
Just kind of like look smugly around at all these lizard people to say like, you're welcome.
And Layden says, you know these people, Angel? And the voice says, indeed I do. These were people sent originally by Garland. And Layden, for the first time, Sleepwell, except maybe when Alfred hit the floor, kind of raises an eyebrow, just a little bit, and scaled eyebrow, and says, really? It goes that deep then? And the Angel's voice says, looks like it. And Layden says, well, shit. And sort of turns around and walks over and sits down heavily in the command chair. And she says, sort of speaking to into the air, this is above my pay grade, Angel. This wasn't what we agreed. We're supposed to take out what was left of a station, not clean up what's left and pick up the pieces. Can you see this thing? And she kind of jerks her head over her shoulder towards Alfred that's just kind of, on the ground. And Angel says, yes, I knew that there was something like this that they had with them, but I didn't know it was actually one of these. Modified, I imagine. It looks like it, Layden says back. And Angel says, so, sleep well, Kaz. You managed to make it out while still holding on to this. Can you tell me what this thing that you're holding on truly is? Where did you get it?
So at this point, we say, we've had a pretty long couple of days, and as you just said, we've done you a service. How about we just take a few hours rest, we regroup. Obviously, we're not going anywhere. We just need a little downtime to, recover from the fact that we almost died 6 different ways about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a pause, and then, I'd say that's fair enough. You've earned the rest. And a reward, which you'll get. All right. Definitely take your time. We should be able to provide accommodations for you that are suitable. Right, Layden? And Layden kind of, I'll figure out a place to throw them into, yes. And Angel's, more voice, sort of normal voice, sounding even more kind of calm and relaxed in the face of Layden's voice, or in contrast to Layden's voice, says, once you've had a chance to rest, though, we're going to need to talk. Because although you've struck a blow against Zephyrcore today, this isn't going to be the end of it. There's more that's going to be needed to be done. And now you've painted a target on your back. Now it's not just the Shadow Technocracy. Now it's all of Zephyr Core. And they won't forget it.
They can get flip in line.
And she smiles and she says, I'll bet there are a few of you in the universe saying the same thing today. And she kind of chuckles and she says, never a dull moment for any of you. But it'll be worth it in the end. You'll see. Go get some rest. I'll be back.
Backs are basically...
Before you sign off, would you kindly send a message to Broxus letting him know that we're okay and that we're probably going to be visiting fairly soon?
And she says, why would you want me to contact that buffoon? All he's going to do is get you in trouble.
I have a feeling that's where our friends might be headed, and so I just want them to know we're okay.
And she sighs heavily and she says, I can't promise that I'll listen, but I'll try.
Thank you.
Angel out. And she terminates the connection, and Layden stands and says, all right, Kratos, see to our guests. Make sure they get the best quarters. And there's a little bit of a chuckle that sort of rumbles through some of the other Matakai. And then she turns to you and she says, I don't know whether it's true that you tried to save my mate. Assuming that you did, you have my thanks and my respect. If you didn't, then you will have my claws around your throat as I rip your head out of your body. Since those are the two choices before us, you might as well go get some rest for now. And I'll be able to attend to your needs since it'll be a couple of days before we arrive at Pelseros. If we hear from your friends, I'll let you know. Oh, and one more thing. And she looks at you, Kaz. Actually, I guess she'd be still looking at you, Sleepwell, because she wouldn't know where this came from. I'd suggest neither one of you take any attempt to disappear for now again. It is going to be difficult, I think, to simply constantly vanish and teleport. And I'll have guards posted in, around, and near your rooms. Nothing personal, you understand, but we're a wet work crew, not a hotel. And, frankly, you're still as suspicious as all Frelling hells.
So I just kind of lean forward and say, like, your boss just said she's going to give us a reward. We're really on your side.
And she nods. She says, only side I'm on is my own. But as long as you're not behind me ready to stab me in the back, then we'll get along just fine. Go get some rest. Kratos will see you to your quarters. Now, as you folks head off to your quarters, I am sure all of you will be happy to hear not only that all of you will finally get the benefits of a long rest, but also that you have all reached level 6. As you've moved up from level 5 to 6.
Hallelujah.
So, yes, basically. Quick programming note, by the way. We have got about another 20 to 25 minutes left in our session. So quick note to the players. That will bring us to about 3 hours and 25 minutes or so, which is what I was planning on. So, and this is a good moment also to pause and welcome everybody who's watching to day 33 of Esper Genesis, the episode that we are calling Viral Fallout. This is sponsored by Alligator Alley Entertainment, and you folks should be absolutely going and supporting everything they do because they're an awesome company and we love them to death. You are joined, of course, by the amazing group of players. Johnny Pittman, Video Store Cowboy, is not with us today, normally plays Aramis. He will be back on the 25th. Sadly, the person who will not be with us on the 25th, but will be back next month, is Cat Rambo as Petrus Sinis, Ludico Sleepwell, played by Carlos Hernandez, and Cosmoritis, or Cosmoritis, depending on what side of the galaxy you're from, played, of course, by Zach Clay. If you like what you see in here, please follow the channel. Please support us by supporting the Patreon, by subbing to the channel and all that good stuff. And, of course, most importantly, supporting all of these people either by subbing or by buying their books, because both Kat and Carlos are amazing authors, and Zach does some streaming too. So go sub to him and buy their books and all that good stuff. And welcome everybody, and thanks for being here. So now that that's said, let me switch the music a little bit, which has been great, but I think we can now move it up a little bit to give me some classic Weirder Things 2. There we go. Okay. I am going to begin with you, Petra, because you and the Hyperlance are going to arrive well before the Manikai warship does back at Pelseros. When you get back to Pelseros and Spindra sort of, asks for docking clearance and all that kind of good stuff, this time around, where the last time you sort of landed and immediately were dealing with a bunch of security swarming you and, all that stuff, you may remember. This time around, it's a much different experience. In fact, when you get off the ship, you are greeted as basically heroes. People cheer. There's all this kind of, people sort of like waving at you, and, a lot of people high-fiving you. You notice that there are a lot of bodies around, many bodies of what might have been security people back in the day, a couple of people that looked like they might have been in maybe one of the gangs that you fought when you first arrived at Pelseros, and then there's also a lot of bodies of people that are apparently Pelseros residents, too, based upon their outfits. But as all the crew of the Hyperlance gets off of the ship, all of them are sort of greeted as, kind of conquering heroes. And chief among them is Abraxas, who is waiting for you when you arrive, and is sort of smiling and, grinning and kind of nodding at you, and says, "The conquering heroes return. It's good to see you all. I'm glad you're not dead yet, Spindra." And Spindra sort of gives him a kind of half smile, half grunt, and then says, "Can we move out of the way here and get a chance someplace where we can talk, Abraxas? I like the reception, but we're not here for parades." "All right, move you people." He kind of turns around, and there's a couple of people around him that are sort of, it looks like kind of the equivalent of the burly, guards, and a couple of them also, you look familiar to you, Petra, from when you first encountered them in the bar, if you remember, where they were the first ones that you saw, and then, it seems like a couple of those are still with him. Also, you are also interested to see that standing right next to him is actually Rona, who is no longer apparently injured, or at least seems to be in better shape than was the case before. Conspicuously missing, though, from the greeting party is Tizora Marickley. She is not with the group, and you can decide what you want to do with that information, but she is not there with everybody else. But otherwise, Rona is there, and as I said, Abraxas, and many of the others that you recognize from, your travels on Pelseros. And you are brought to what essentially seems like this sort of security office, basically, where originally the security officers had been. And instead of security officers, there's now just a couple of dead bodies there, and some rather disturbing looking red smudges and stuff on the back of the chair. And Abraxas sits down in the chair with a, for him, big smile and says, "Well, you made it back. And now we have a chance to decide what our next steps will be. Assuming, that is, that you've had a chance to get some rest."
I'm going to say not all of us made it back. Several very good friends did not make it back. So yes, I would like a chance to rest before we begin planning other ways to get various friends killed.
And he holds up a hand and he says, "Oh, hang on now. You have every right to be angry, Petra, but not at me. This is not my doing. It's the Zephyr Corps that's doing this, and you should have seen that from what you found on the station."
I agree that Zephyr Core is a big evil, and I do agree that they need to be stopped. I'm just would like fewer people to get killed in the process of doing so.
And he nods. He says, I don't blame you. And especially avoiding you getting killed is one of the reasons that I wanted to talk. First, this. And he hands you what looks like a credit chip. Like maybe a data chip, basically. Data stick. And he hands it over to you. And he says, feel free to look it over if you like.
Is this money?
He says, in part. Here, you can use that terminal next to you to check it out.
Pop it into the terminal and see what it is.
So, first of all, it pops up a listing of 5,000 cubal, which is a good amount of money. Secondly, there are a couple of data files, and they look to be data files that make reference to two things. The first is the Long Winter Project. Looks like a file name that seems to have some text in it. And the second is something which refers to Kill Order 0. That's it. Both of them are file names, so you could like click onto either one and it would, open it up basically.
I will open
Order
up
66.
Yeah. Kill Order 0. What is Kill Order 0?
When you pop open Kill Order 0, you see a list of 4 names pop on the screen. Aramis, Petrosinus, Ludicus Sleepwell, Cosmeritis.
Huh.
And Abraxas waits, kind of seeing what your reaction will or won't be.
And I'll look at it expressionlessly, and then open the other to see what's in it.
And in the other file, you see this thing about the Long Winter Report. And as you begin to read, you see that this is making reference to a secret project being held at Hespera Station and the impact of the long winter. And as you're reading it, you see references to networks, you see references to Alfred 99s, and you see reference to Hyper Lance is, plural.
Ooh. Interesting.
And so this connection seems to be some large project. But as you're reading it, and it's only a couple of, basically pages long, as you're reading it, now Petra, you carry a big hammer and you're charismatic and all that stuff, but you don't really spend a whole lot of time getting deeply into political machinations of this, that, and the other. But you can put 2 and 2 together pretty easily. And it's pretty obvious that everyone here is talking around something. It's almost as if whoever put together this report, which certainly seems like it wasn't available for public consumption, still wasn't hitting on the head what the project was supposed to be doing, except it keeps making reference to universal network. So it keeps talking about some kind of universal network, and then lots of references to Alfred's, to the Long Winter Project, to Hyper Lances, and universal networking.
I will turn to Abraxas and say, what is at the center of this? What is this universal network?
He says, while you were gone, I did a bit of poking around once we had liberated the rest of Pelseros, and I found some very interesting information. It appears that the thing that we sent you to take down is part of the project that the Shadow Technocracy and Zephyr Corps have been involved in for a while. I can't figure out the details, but it's got something to do with that thing that your friend insisted on carrying around with him, hopefully dead by now. Not your friend, I mean the Alfred. And the Hyperlance itself. I thought your ship was a prototype. If this is true, there are multiple examples of this ship. If they want to network together those ships, combine them somehow with these Alfreds, I don't know what the implications are, but this is a lot more than a small, minor shakedown. We're talking about universal control, Petra. The entire Silrain arc falling under the control of the Shadow Technocracy. Of course, you might not care about any of that. And that's why I forwarded that one to you. And he points with his finger at the other file, the Kill Order Zero. He says, a Kill Order Zero is particularly nasty. You know, have you heard about it before?
No.
A Kill Order Zero means that there is no price that the issuer will not pay for your death. It's more than a bounty. It's a gold mine. Whoever kills you can write their own check. They could retire off of it. Maybe that'll make you feel good. Your last step, providing financial security to the fine assassins of our fair galaxy. And he leans back and he says, I put 2 and 2 together and it tells me that you poked the wrong bear. This time, it's woken up. It's decided to take you down at all costs. And if it can do it, it might be that much closer to, and he points to the other file name, this, universal networking. Whatever that means, whatever it implies, it's bad, Petra. This is brazen, even for them.
Very well. Well, Petra's pretty shaken up. I mean, all of this is going on, and she's probably going to go confer, and she is going to go confer with Aramis and just see whether he actually wants to continue on. She wants to, but she wants to check in and make sure that he's also committed to this fight.
Okay. When you head off to Aramis, Rona sort of waits until you're just about to leave the room to go find Aramis, and she says, I thought you should know. A couple of days before you arrived, Tezora came to me. She told me to tell you, seek her out at the end of the world. She said you would know what that meant.
Oh, that is so fucking typical. Some mystic, arcane, seek me at the end of the world bullshit from her. All right?
And actually, Petra, what I will tell you before I jump over to Sleepwell and Kaz is that you do know of this place called the End of the World. It is a trendy corner bar in a downmarket district that you and Tezora used to hang out on when you hung out on Earth. And that will allow me to now jump over to Sleepwell and Kaz. Sleepwell and Kaz, your trip is much slower. And so your impression, both of you, is that clearly Matakai do not believe in the need for soft accommodations. Maybe it's the scales. But these are not beds, you know, they're sort of like Tempur-Pedic once the Tempur-Pedics have hardened into concrete slabs. Like, they're just not comfortable. You know. And of course, Kaz doesn't really need to sleep anyway.
Have a small star in your
Yeah, I was gonna say it works. It probably doesn't affect you so much, Kaz, but sleep well. You do not sleep well. That's your comfort. It's very uncomfortable.
How long did you work on that line?
This was all a very long play just for that one moment. But that is the case. That said, though, the Matakai do treat you with basic respect. They do not shove you around. They do not push you. They don't speak impolitely to you. They don't necessarily use a lot of grace around you either. They just kind of grunt most of the time. But if you ask for something, they provide it. Their typical meal usually consists of rations, which for them apparently is some weird black liquid that tastes like a combination of coffee and some kind of like Jolt Cola or something. Some weird like carbonated coffee basically is what it tastes like. And the food that they usually eat is a kind of dark brownish paste, which is extraordinarily unappetizing but surprisingly nourishing. You eat a few bites of it and it's, you're pretty much good to go. And also, the benefit is that you'd rather not eat anymore because it's really not very appetizing. But, that's it does the job. So, as you're going on for a day or so, Layden does not seek you out. And so you have an opportunity, if you wish, to either, you could, if you wish, talk to other Matakai, or you could talk to each other, plan what you want to do. But the ship is still a day or so out from Pelseros when you have the opportunity to sort of talk with each other, having now fully rested also.
So I turn to Kaz and I say, Kaz, I remember, things happen so fast, but you were reluctant to use that coil that could have helped you a long time ago because you were worried about it being compromised by the long winter. How are you feeling?
Okay, I guess. When I first came to, after being revived by the coil, I did see a very scary looking giant apparition that seemed like a representation of our good old friend, the Long Winter. That's the only.
Oh my God, robot! Hold on.
I guess.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Robot world. Give me a second.
Hello.
Try that again. You're like, so
Am
then
I
I
still a robot?
and suddenly it was Lawnmower Man.
So then I. Can you hear me better now?
Yes. Try again.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So, when I was brought back by the coil, I saw an apparition of our friend, the Long Winter, but I feel pretty fine otherwise.
Utter terror. You mean in the suit you saw it?
I mean, I don't know if it was in my suit physically, but as I'm in my suit. Here, I can. Do you want me to pop out?
Yeah, why don't you pop out and come back in? Because it
I'll
was
just
pretty.
be screaming the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bear with us for just 1 second while Zach pops back in. Although that was very atmospheric and totally an RP, it also makes
Right,
it a little hard to.
exactly.
Although I wasn't
physically.
physically. Exactly, it wasn't physically. It actually reminds me there is a section of Mass Effect 2, which is the Overlord DLC, which is really, really well done, and the end voice sort of reminds me of it. It's terrifying, but really well done. Okay, let's try now, Zach.
Hello. I am probably still roboting. or
No,
will
you're
in the
good.
future.
Oh,
Look,
good.
You're better than you were, for sure.
Okay, cool. So what were we saying? Oh yeah, I don't know if it's in the suit. It probably, yeah, it's probably in my suit. So we'll have to figure that out. It's gonna be great.
Do you want me to take a look, see if I can help at least?
Sure.
So I would love to make a check of some kind to see what I can do to find out what's going on with Kaz's suit.
Okay.
And I will, as Sleepwell is doing this, I'll explain to him a little bit about how the suit works and any area that he's trying to search to try to help him and give him an advantage or something.
Okay. I would say, I'm trying to think about whether we would do like, I'm trying to think about whether this would be sort of, whether it be computers
Mechanics
or
or
whether it be mechanics.
computers? Or...
Yeah, I think it's going to be computers more than mechanics. Well, actually, you know what? That depends on what you want to do. What exactly are you going to try to find?
So basically, I'm trying to find two different things.
Okay.
One, I'm trying to find sort of like how his system is set up so that like if he wants to be able to like move an arm, will he have direct access to that, or does it all have to go through a kind of process? So I'm trying to figure out like basically what he can have control over at any given time. I'm saying he, I'm not even sure if you're gendered, Kaz, now that I'm thinking about it. But
Technically, I don't think I am, but to make things easier, Kaz just goes by he, I think.
okay. So then, whether he, sort of like needs a computer processor to do things, or if things run so differently, with this alien technology that, like if the thing's in the suit, it's not really going to compromise him in the same way that it would, say, Alfred or something like that. So I'm trying to figure out that mechanism, and then I want to isolate it if I can, wherever it is.
Okay. So, all right. So then, yeah, that makes sense. So let's make this a mechanics check then, for reasons that we'll talk about later. So yeah, mechanics.
So that's good news for me, just because I get all sorts of
good news.
Since we're now at 6th level, did a proficiency bonus go up?
Not yet.
Nope. I believe 7, right? Would be a win, but
still get a pretty good bonus off this. But
yeah,
level 9 is the next.
Oh God, I forgot. Yeah, because you must have just had the thing go up there.
Yeah.
Oh, but it should be 3 now. Is that correct? Because I had it marked 2 on my sheet. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And that is the roll, and it all adds up to a 21.
So now I can explain why mechanics. So your 2 questions are actually related, because the isolating is going to be difficult for the following reason. The Bellari suit is essentially an extraordinarily complex network of microfibers that are designed to respond to the energy that is put out by the Bellari. So it's very much as if you could imagine the skin of a human and feeling all, we have thousands and tens of thousands of nerve endings all along our skin. And we can, if we run our finger down it, we can feel not only our finger running down our arm, but also feel the reaction higher up the arm, right? Like it's because it's a nerve that runs up and down. So the energy is so all-encompassing and basically is everywhere at once that it is essentially the reason that the Bellari are able to act the way they are is because they don't have to have conceived thought and then go do it. It's just they act accordingly. Their entire body acts in accordance with what it is they want to do. That's good for the Bellari in that it means that they can act very gracefully and they can operate within the suit. But it means that it's extremely hard to isolate it because the Bellari are literally systemic, right? There is no separate part of a Bellari. They're just Bellari. So they're just all one thing. So they are essentially all one energy. So that means that isolating the suit is impossible because you can't isolate the thing that powers the suit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I would imagine you think is incredibly cool as Sleepwell. Just side note, like it's an amazing technology.
Right. But it's basically what you're saying is sort of like it's like one uni-organ,
Precisely.
Yep. It's just basically like it's not broken into separate organ. It's like one massive organ.
That's right.
That moves it. That said, even in something like that, there are going to be, say, reflex arcs that will allow it to react extremely quickly, or if not that, some kind of equivalent, I would think, just to make
more or less
more possible. So like, I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see, like, I mean, I don't even know if an AI, like if you put a Mac program on a Windows computer, it doesn't run. I don't even know if this AI can run in a Bellari OS, so to speak, so I'm trying to figure out like what is going on with it, like where like how would a file get in, and like what does that even mean in a Bellari system?
That's a good question. And now I'm going to use another analogy. It's like working with Linux. So it's a good question. It's not 100% clear where this would reside. First of all, you don't 100% know that he's been corrupted or tainted or whatever by this thing. But if he has been corrupted or tainted by it, if you had to guess, the Bellari system is so complex and so foreign, so alien from anything that even like the Long Winter would have worked with before, that it would take a long time to figure out exactly what's going on with it. Like from the point of view of the virus, like it would take a long time to kind of break through. On the other hand, the Long Winter seems to be an extraordinarily powerful and dangerous and complex virus, which also happens to be psychotic. So if it is actually in him, it also is not going to give up, and you don't know whether it would be anything that sort of would limit his capabilities. I mean, I should say that there's many things that you could do in terms of, like, you could, I'm not saying you do this, but you could amputate his hand, and then, you know, then it would be limited in terms of what he could do with his hands. You know, you could cut off parts of his suit. But if you want him to still have control over it, like the real Kaz, have control over it, it's going to be hard to shut out, at least without more work, just the, you know, illegitimate AI part of what is in him.
At this point, I'm going to turn to Kaz and say, like, certainly your people have dealt with issues of viruses before, having this complex suit system.
Yes.
How do you deal with viruses?
Well, forgive me if I robot out. I hope that's not a symptom of me actually suffering from a virus. But the way we would deal with it, since we make these suits, is I would eject myself from the suit and do some sort of full energy purge of the suit, which would involve dismantling it, and basically I would have to, I mean, it's been ages since I've even seen that technology from my home galaxy or star sector, let alone I've never had to use it. But from what I remember, you eject yourself from the suit, you dismantle the suit, and then you basically use Bellare technology to wipe it clean and reset any sort of network that's been built into it, which would mean when I would re-enter the suit, I would have to basically kind of relearn how to be in one again, because the system would be basically kind of unloaded, and I would have to reload into it, which, yeah, reconfigured. So I could try to do something like that with jury rigging non-Bellare technology, but I think ultimately I don't have an answer for this unless I can eject out of the suit and then find a way to sweep all of it. I don't know.
I wonder if you could search for it yourself. Oh.
I was able to do this, and Kaz kind of like stands up, fixes his posture, and unloads his hunter's rig, which was the set of metal bars given to him by the merchant in Peltavaria, and kind of unlocks it from his suit and finishes kind of adjusting one final set of pieces on it, and then locks it into place and says, I've been working on this, and I think I might actually have room in my matrices to learn a language very, very quickly as a representation of level 6 possibly. And I put on the hunter's rig. And I was like, I want to talk to some Matakai, because I think I can learn. I have one opportunity to learn a language very, very quickly, and I'm excited about that. Aside from possibly being infected by a psychotic virus and being the last living remnant of it, I think I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah. Anyway.
Good times. Okay, so as you're all having this discussion, and actually one other little bit of housekeeping, Sleepwell, are you doing anything with Alfred?
Oh no, that was the next thing I was going to say.
Good. All right, let's talk about that.
So first of all, I pulled the kill switch thing on him. Here, I'm thinking there isn't really a way to reactivate it without possibly letting whatever's inside him go hog wild.
True.
So, but what I'm wondering is there a way for me to get him to a medical bay? I mean, I'll obviously ask for permission, where I could, like, do I even think there's a possibility of examining him without turning him on, sort of like, basically running diagnostics on him without reactivating.
Yeah, absolutely, but you frankly are appalled at the state of Madokai mercenary healing bays. Like, first of all, the whole healing thing, couple of band-aids, walk it off and call me in the morning, like, basically seems to be the way that they approach most things here, compared to your very high-tech upscale lab on the Hyperlance. This healing bay is kind of a joke. Like, it's got just sort of the basics that are necessary to keep people, like, patch together a couple of Madokai and get them back out on the field. But in terms of extensive work with even sort of computer or not really. It doesn't seem to be, they just don't have the design for it. So you can, put them on top of a table and look at them as much as you like, but you really don't have access to the computer power necessary on this ship.
Okay. I don't remember if Alfred sustained any wounds, but certainly I'm healing all of those,
Okay.
Just doing everything I need to just heal the biological components of Alfred at this point.
Okay. And all of you, by the way, I should say, are back up to full health if I hadn't specified that before. So, in fact, I'm just marking it down now. Okay.
You want us to roll our new health at the end of the session?
At the end of the session, yes. So yeah, you are able to heal some of those, but of course he just has not moved for a long period of time because you've had him shut down.
Yeah, so I'm basically taking care of him in those other ways too. So basically in the same way that you would, rotate a body that's sleeping, to avoid sores and things like that. Right. I'm moving the limbs, and so on a regular schedule, I'm taking care of him, and I'm also checking the mechanics of things and any small physical repairs that I can make from the engineering standpoint of anything going on with the mechanics of him. I'm working on that as well.
Okay, you were able to do that and make sort of extra repairs, and you were kind of engrossed actually in that one morning, a day or so later, when suddenly you hear coming over the intercom the sound of Kratos' voice, and it says, "Attention, all to ranks, approaching Pelseros." And they are apparently closing in on Pelseros, and they, Kaz and Sleepo, you are both summoned to the bridge, basically. So assuming both of you go, is that fair to say?
We do. We'll leave the crew and Alfred behind in quarters.
Okay.
How many days were we on the ship?
About 3.
Okay.
Yep.
The only thing is, in the time that I was on the ship, part of my, and it's up to you how you want to do this, part of my leveling up is that I could learn a language. Mm-hmm. It just says when you gain this feature, you learn one language of your choice.
Sure.
Which I know in a traditional settings, like, oh, you instantly know this language. But
right.
What I would want to do is maybe convince one of the Matakai on the ship, which we can role play out if you want to or not, to see if I could learn Matakai.
Absolutely. I think it makes total narrative sense. And in fact, there are some soldiers that are very impressed by you as a Bellari and don't really know what to make of you. And so there are a couple that you're able to chat with and that start teaching you some words. You sometimes wonder a little bit, Kaz, if they're kind of fooling with you, because they'll sometimes tell you a word and then you'll repeat it, and they'll kind of look at each other and kind of nudge each other and smile. So you're not 100%.
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Yeah, definitely. And you're actually telling them, your parents should be destroying children, or some terrible thing that they say. So, but anyway, yes. So you are able to learn that, I would say, from them. Okay. And so you pick up one thing you pick up as you're learning that language is you definitely pick up an unease about all of this, about what's going to be found when you actually get to Pelseros. And so when the ship pulls up to Pelseros and you arrive on the bridge, you can see that the Matakai warship is basically hanging in space, and you can see the Pelseros not all that far from the ship, actually extended. And as per usual, Layden has got her arms folded and is kind of staring out the front view screen. And when you get in, she kind of looks at you, and Kratos also kind of looks over you and glares. And then she says, "Well, it appears your friends have arrived first. I didn't think they'd be sending this out as a kind of reception committee, though." And as you're looking, you can see that there are 3 what look like security fighters that are all arrayed around the outside of the Matakai warship. And all of them have what look to be shields up. Blasters are powered and facing them. And Layden just sort of shakes her head and says, I had hoped that we could avoid all the fighting. But that's how you deal with things. You cut through red tape, or you blow them the hell out of the galaxy. And as she says that, you hear coming in this several chimes of, "Attention Matakai warship, stand down your weapons, prepare to be boarded." And then on the bridge right after that, the voice of Angel saying, "Good. Now we're about to see whether or not what we thought we found there in the station is actually going to be upheld by the people here at Pelseros as well." And that, I think, is where we are going to bring our session to a close. Before I have everyone go through their recaps, I imagine you'll want more time to look at level 6 sort of abilities and stuff like that, so I won't force you to do that now. But it would be nice if you could roll hit points, as you said, Zach. So if you would be so kind as to do that for everyone.
Well, are we doing the take 5 thing, though? I think I remembered Johnny doing that.
Yes, you could do that, although, or, I mean, what I typically do, it's up to you. What I typically do is if I will, or we'll do the, just, the rolling the 1 hit die plus, it's up to you. You can take 5, or you can roll or half of what you would normally get, or you can take a chance and roll your hit die plus add your con modifier for your next hit points.
I'm rolling.
Me too.
Okay.
Really?
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
Fuck, yeah. It's okay. But not quite together. All right. So
Cool.
Petra had 4, is that right?
4. Yes, that would be 4.
So 49 out of 49. Kaz, you got 10.
Yeah, so I'm
guess
also
who's tied?
49
out of 49.
Tied for the most.
We got a new tank. Okay.
Yeah, no.
And then
Please,
Sleepwell,
no.
do you want to do your just sort of that mid number, or do you want to take a chance?
So is it you take 5 and then add the con modifier, or you don't?
It depends on your class. It
Oh
should
yeah,
tell
no,
you.
it's like I'm an 8-sided dice, so I think it's 5, right?
Yeah, if you're an
Yeah,
8-sided dice.
Let me
yes.
see.
Yeah. So is it 5 plus con modifier or roll?
Wait a second. I need to look.
So,
Like, because if it's not the con modifier,
Yeah,
it makes
'cause
no
mine-
sense. Because only a
no,
1
it-
would be worse.
it is because
Yeah.
like mine says 1d10 or 6 plus your constitution.
Yeah,
modifier.
plus con. Yep, I just found it too. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna take 5. I mean, on average, the average is 4.5 if you roll, and if you're taking 5 over time, that's slightly better. So I'll take my
Yeah.
5 plus 3, 8 total.
All right, 8 total, and you'll get out of there. So that means you'll have a 46. So Petra will be glad to know that you're not quite caught up to her just yet.
You can still tank. Maybe I can go.
Tank well, Ludoku tank
Take
well.
well.
And then of course, we'll have to talk about Aramis and see whether he can get into the 30s at least.
Oh gosh.
So we will see what happens with that. But so when I speak to you folks next time, as far as the game is concerned, I will, don't let me forget to give you a chance to tell me all of your awesome new abilities that you've actually gotten since you reached level 6 now that you've arrived.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start with the gentleman all the way on the right of the group. I really, really, really enjoyed everybody's role play today, and I was really having a lot of fun sort of seeing you and Sleepwell in one area, and then Petra having to deal with the stuff she's dealing with in the other area. So it was a lot of fun to sort of see things get handled on both sides, and the different pairings are always fun. So how did you find today, Zach, and where will the lovely people see you next?
It was a very awesome and interesting session. You are a great Dungeon Master. I can only aspire to your greatness.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it is very fun to play with all of you guys. So thank you guys for making this awesome. And I really enjoyed yeah, the session tonight was really great. We've been stuck on that station. I mean, all the stuff we've been doing on that station is cool and everything, but we've been stuck on that station for a long time. And new things are on the horizon, as they always are.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to encounter a different kind of ship. My my YouTube keeps recommending me all these clips from Star Trek: The Next Generation. So as soon as we got on the Matakai ship, I just had these flashbacks to like Klingon ships in The Next Generation, same type of feeling. So
yep.
But yeah, super cool. Different new things are happening. Learned a new language. Didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Life is good.
Yeah, I mean your health was all working upwards. You were all trending
yeah.
up. It was all coming up Millhouse.
Yep. So it was a good time, and I look forward to the next one.
And where will the folks see you next here on the
Folks will see me next on this channel for Esper Genesis, also for our vocalists when we have that.
Yep.
Right now I am not streaming on my own and haven't for a while, but I intend to come back once I know exactly what I want to do with my channel. I know I want to make some changes, but I will keep you guys up to date and check back here for more info.
Quick note, by the way, Zach, I know that you have your own channel, but I just wanted to point out that I am continually trying to build my own channel's content that doesn't involve me directly in doing it. So if you had thoughts of wanting to run something, I would love to speak with you, sir. Again, of course you have your own channel, but if you wanted to, reach out and, spread the skills elsewhere as well. I'd be happy to do that. So anyway, we'll talk. But thanks, Zach. Great stuff tonight. Really enjoyed it. Carlos, is always a great pleasure, and I'm glad that Johnny had suggested that we not. I mean, we might have come to this conclusion anyway, but Johnny was very clear. He's like, no, Carlos really should make this decision, and he was of course 100% right that needed to happen. So
very kind of him. So
yeah, it was a good call. And it was, I mean, you had some things to think about. I forgot to mention this, Zach, that the dimensional space thing was a great idea. I mean, it was because you guys were in a rough spot, so that actually was handled very well.
My other option was I have a talent, I have a couple talents, like one called Impact Drive. So what I would have tried to do, it's not the intention of the spell, is to shoot a bullet with Impact Drive behind them so it propels them forward into the ship, but I didn't.
Oh my god, that's like Brandon Sanderson, like Mistborn stuff, like pushing off metal or whatever.
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, this worked out really well. And as I say, if it had been Rope Trick, this wouldn't have worked because you would not have been able to climb up there. But the fact that you teleport into it made it possible. So anyway, but it was neat. But so good thinking there. But anyway, yeah. So Carlos, and then sort of what you were doing with like leaning in, leaning out, looking down, all that kind of stuff was a blast. And deciding what you wanted to do with Alfred, I thought was interesting also. So how'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely folks see you next?
Oh yeah, it was a ton of fun. Like it really is my favorite kind of role play where, on my character sheet tucked away in this one little corner, it says I have my little laptop or whatever. And like, what are you gonna use it for? Who knows? There are lasers and beasts and whatever, but like
Etch-a-Sketch.
yeah, it's just like basically it was like a glorified Etch-a-Sketch that I was able to use in that way. It was so much fun. I mean, I love it when you get to use, sort of like the little bits that are on your character sheet to do that kind of fun stuff. And it was just really fun, like I could see sort of like the comic, scene playing out and whatever. And, like it was like, I think it was really like my jam when it comes to role play. So really a ton of fun. I liked it a lot. And I really liked the bifurcated story, the way that, we had these things, sort of happening on two different ships at the same time and that were coming together. But like, yeah, the thing that you couldn't have predicted as DM is sort of like this interdimensional portal in which we would just be stuck in those.
Nope, I'm like, welp.
So like I really like how all of that sort of like evolved, and we all sort of like had to tell a story around that, very quickly. So tons of fun.
Good stuff. And this is why D&D and tabletop role-playing, these are the best games. I mean, because that's why, because you could never tell.
Like moments like that nobody could have predicted.
Absolutely. I was also, by the way, just cracking up at the thought of you writing on gauze. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever, like, just marking on gauze and then just dropping like paper down to I don't know. It was very fun.
I mean, it's just terrible, right?
Yeah, it was cracking me up. But it was great stuff. Where will the folks see you surfacing now that you're beginning to surface from deadline hell a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to be still traveling for Sal and Gabby. I'm going to a Houston Festival of Books, not, a week from today. I'll be, that weekend, I'll be at the Houston Festival of Books. And then the week after, I'll be right back here at Esper Genesis. And, now that this book is going to be turned in and I'll be able to take a breath, I will be very interested to talk to you about other things that might be run. I'm working, among other things, for my sabbatical on a role-playing game of my own. And
I would love to speak. Yes.
Yeah, it would be fun to debut it, and get some play testing. It would be, early stages kinds of play testing, but I'm pretty excited about it. So
that's awesome. And I've played games of yours before that I really dug. So absolutely, I'm here for it for sure. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's good stuff. Thanks, Carlos. Great stuff as always. Moving right along. Kat, I was enjoying so much the idea. I did regret that there wasn't Aramis with you, that we couldn't have the two of you doing it at the same time, because it meant that a lot of it had to ride on you. But of course, you were more than up to the task. And I was really, really enjoying the kind of the sort of interactions with the AI, which is continuing to build as a part of your character, and this sort of connection with the ship. And I really thought you handled it well, because you kind of handled it with this bemused, like, I don't know what is going on, but I need to sort of, this is important. And also, and I don't know if you felt this way, it also felt to me a little bit like you were doing that while still, there's a little bit still of awe, it seems to me. Like you're obviously like, oh my God, what's going on? But you're also like, this is wild. It struck me a little bit as a character. Yeah. So how did you feel about today, and where will the folks see you next?
I thought that was a lot of fun. I mean, but every session is a lot of fun. And I'm always amazed by the fact that we don't actually do that much combat, but we have a great deal of story going on.
That's true. Although you did miss a lot of combat, in fairness, in the last session or two, so you were not here for it. But
blah, blah, blah,
so there was that.
I am at Multiverse in Atlanta next week. If you're going to be there, please stop in. We're going that first night to a haunted house, so I'm very excited about that. And then I'll be at the Surrey International Writers Conference at the end of the month. I'm taking my mother. That will be a lot of fun.
Nice.
She's going to go do a session with Don Moss and learn how to write the breakout novel.
Nice.
And I, as always, will be on here for Hearts of Wulin and Esper Genesis. And Halloween night, I'm going to talk about how to write scary stories.
Yes, that's going to be the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers is going to be on Halloween night, Scary Story Time, which is going to be really awesome. Great pleasure as always, Kat. Thank you very, very much. And yeah, actually, it's interesting. So we are all in the next couple of weeks going to be in Atlanta, Ottawa, and Houston. So, and Zach's still in Cali. So we're all over the place basically. So come find us. If you're at any of these places, come find us there. But thank you, Kat. Always a great pleasure. Last but certainly not least, our thanks as always to Johnny Pippin, who was able to check in a couple times. He is right now at a con, Big Bad Con. And will be back with us on the 25th. So Kat will not be here. She'll be away. But Carlos and Zach and Johnny will be here. And then all of us will reconvene back here on November. So we'll need to make sure, guys, that, next time, tons and tons of combat. So that way Kat can miss all of it again. And I'll be here for the actual combat that happened. Just a bunch of fights. Right. But seriously, in all seriousness, I really, really have enjoyed this campaign so much, and you folks have done really well with it. And yeah, I mean, we're moving up into high levels here now, so higher levels. And so stuff is continuing to progress, and the story is developing, and I love it. So it's great to see these wonderful players working with it. Chat, can we get some love for our wonderful players? I will see Carlos with Esper Genesis in 2 weeks. I will see Kat for her class in 3 weeks, roughly. I will see Zach for Esper Genesis in 2 weeks. And otherwise, I will see all of you as a group back here back in November as an entire team. So much love to all of you. Chat, much love, please, for our players. And thank you to Johnny and to Kat, Carlos, and Zach. And I'll see you folks soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So that is going to do it for tonight. Man, that was really, really fun. I was having such a blast doing all of the sort of cutbacks and forths. I was really cracking up at some of the humor stuff going on over with Kaz and with Sleepwell, and with Kat. I mean, all the stuff going on with the AI and the sort of whispering to her and the love stuff and all that. It's great because she's just struck, I think, exactly the right tone, which has been really neat. So I have thoroughly enjoyed it. As I see that my glasses are off, there we go. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope everyone has enjoyed it as much as I have, because it has been awesome sauce. But that is going to do it for me for today, but it is not going to do it for us for some amazing role-playing. If you do not know what's going on tomorrow, at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, or later today, I guess I should say, we will have the return of Infinity and Beyond with the Curse of Strahd. That campaign has also been crazy go nuts with the players and everything else, and so there's a lot going on there, so you will not want to miss it. You will definitely want to stop back here for that. Then next Tuesday we have Adventures in Middle-earth at 10:30 a.m. Please note the earlier start time. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern we have got D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. So we've got a bunch of campaigns going on, and we've got a bunch of stuff happening, so you will not want to miss that, because it's a big deal. There's a lot of really good stuff happening in those campaigns. And also, big ups to you, chat, because you guys did a good job in sort of managing things and kind of sticking with it, and being able to do some inspirations like Nonstop was able to do. So thank you all for being a big part of this channel, and for spreading the word about the channel as well. Now, with all of that said, we are going to do a raid. You will be brought over automagically. The way you do a raid is very simple. If you are not a sub, you are going to do this, which is the Arvanauts Have Landed, followed by Twitch raid, lowercase twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you are going to do this, which is the Arvanauts Have Landed, followed by Arvane Hype, ARVANE, lowercase, uppercase H, lowercase YPE. Once you get over to the place that we're going to be raiding, and I think I know who we are going to raid for sure. I think I know exactly who we're going to raid, in fact. So yeah, I know exactly who it's going to be. But before I do that, I do want to remind everybody about the ways that you can support the stream. Again, don't forget to check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord, the Twitter with !ArvTweets. Don't forget to check out the website, arvanellarun.com. You can find my podcast that I co-host with Mike Underwood at speculatesf.com. Also, by the way, the audio podcast of the Curse of Strahd campaign is also over on my website, arvanellarun.com, for this place. On the financial side, the shop, !Arv shop, which has merchandise for Infinity and Beyond, Adventures in Middle-earth, and soon to be for the Esper Genesis stuff as well. So please support us over there. The Patreon, !Arvtreon, that's really the financial backbone of the channel, currently sitting above 300 at 302. We want to continue to build that up and get that higher so people can jump on board, get cool things for them and cool things for the channel. And last but certainly not least, that sub button right above the video window, because we are sitting right now at about 73 subs, I believe. So the more that we can continue to grow that, the better that helps with the channel and everything else as well. Special thanks to Dragonspear and Shadow Mage today because of their founders badges, because they were among the first to subscribe to my channel, for which I am most grateful. Last thing I want to mention is Icarus to pre-order my Icarus and Jelinek graphic novels, which I'm very excited about. I've been seeing the art for them, and French kiss. They are so good, and I cannot wait to be able to share them with all of you. So, thanks to all the people who made this a wonderful stream tonight. Thank you to Coven Guy, to Rock God, Dragonspear, and Shadowed Mage, my wonderful mods. Great job as always, everybody. Thanks to my subscribers, Coven Guy, Rock God. Thank you to Nonstop. Thank you to Lone Wolf 67. Good work out of the subs today. Thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. Thank you to my regular viewers, Angel of Light, Commander Root, Determinologies, Genly AI, Host Me Raffle, Kooky Canuck. What's up, Kooky? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. Moobot, I guess. Steve B. Dancer, Tetro75, you Christensen, V&K, Valerian Gamer, Virgo Praz, Windsock, and of course, Right Teach Play. Thank you, Carlos. And again, thanks to my wonderful players tonight, Carlos, Kat, and Zach. Wonderful job out of all three, and I Can't wait for the next session. It's going to be awesome. But that's going to do it for me. Stick around for the video, after which you will be automagically brought over to the new place. And stick around for that, and then you can head off to wherever you want to go. And I'll see you folks later on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the awesomeness of D&D with Infinity and Beyond, Curse of Strahd. I said both. I said Shadowed as well. But thanks, everybody. Much love, and I will see you. Oh, and also, can't believe I forgot this almost. Thank you to our sponsor. Thank you to Alligator Alley Entertainment for sponsoring us and for making this amazing, amazing game. Thank you, Ganley. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But that's going to do it for me. Much love to all, and I will see you wonderful people later on Saturday. Until then, be good to each other. Have a good night.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the Crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw Saurian, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.